Yay.
Ms. Chalkley, are you promoting people? Okay, she's doing it.
Laura's promoting, so it might be Laura if she knows. I think we just need to get the board in the Julia and Yancy. And Kirk is up. We just need to do the board and no, she's not. She is promoting. Let me ask her.
Mr. Griffin, do you mind if I identify you as the president?
Go ahead.
Do you see?
No.
Okay, so let's, can you please, Mr. Ford's person proven that's a mistake. Robert Flores, I don't know why he's in. Renee? I don't know what he is.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks like all the board members are here.
Okay.
And it's 7 o'clock. Are we ready to go?
We are.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you to the San Mateo Union High School District Board of Trustees meeting for April 15th. First off, I'll do roll call. Trustee Andrade Zuniga.
Present.
Trustee Land.
Present.
Trustee Lees Dwyer. Okay, I take that as a present. Trustee Hanley.
Yes.
And that I'm here. There's 5 of us. I will ask the superintendent to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we will have a report out and the standard T's and C's.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Okay, here's the report out of closed session first. In closed session, the board, upon the motion of Trustee Hanley and seconded by Trustees Lees Dwyer, moved to approve a special education settlement with a vote of 5-0. Item 2, in closed session, the board, upon motion of Trustees Lees Dwyer and seconded by Trustee Land, moved to approve a separation agreement with a vote of 5-0. And item 3, additionally, on April 1st, the full board in closed session unanimously approved a settlement agreement with the law firm of Shankman and Hughes regarding the district's transition to by trustee area elections. Shankman and Hughes has since also approved that settlement agreement, which is therefore final and can now be reported on. Under the agreement, the district commits to make the transition to by trustee area by the 2022 board election and to pay Shankman and Hughes a total of $27,000. Okay. We have our Spanish language interpreter this evening, Su Yen. For those who would like to attend the meeting in Spanish, that option is available. If you can please communicate that, Su Yen, when the room is open.
Ok, para las personas que hablan en español, yo soy la intérprete en español y pueden tocar el botón donde dice español para escuchar esta conferencia en ese idioma. Gracias.
Okay, thank you. This is a public meeting of the San Mateo Union High School Board of Trustees, District Board of Trustees. If you wish to make a comment about an agenda item or during the public comments section at the beginning of the agenda, please send an email to comments with an S at SMUHSD.org. That's comments with an S at SMUHSD.org with your name, email address, and your Zoom name if different, and the item under which you would like to comment. The board president will call on you. Please note that comments are limited to 3 minutes. The board president may increase or decrease the time allowed for a public presentation, depending on the topic and the number of persons wishing to speak. And for everyone's information, item N2 has been pulled from the agenda. So we're going to move on now to public comments. And I believe, Ms. Chalkley, there were going to be two speakers.
That is correct. We have SMUHSD awareness first, and then we have Jacob Nye next.
Okay. Welcome, SMUHSD awareness.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Skelly, and all attendees. I am a member of SMUHSD Awareness, an Instagram account run by students and recent alumni that posts anonymous stories submitted by members of the school district. We post these stories in order to bring awareness to this discrimination and lack of response that occurs on our schools. We would like to share the following stories submitted to us by SMUHSD students to shed light on the issues on our campuses and implore the district to advocate for and create meaningful change. I want to give a warning about the following story as it mentions sexual harassment. Quote, in my sophomore year, I reported sexual harassment of many girls in my PE class by one specific male student. I explained in detail to my teacher, who referred me to an administrator. I emailed this administrator and said, I need to talk to you about sexual harassment I regularly witness in one of my classes. The administrator asked who the guy was, and I said I was not comfortable with telling them over email. They said they would not meet with me until I told them the perpetrator's name. Feeling confused and cornered, I then emailed them the harasser's name. They never followed up, emailed me back, or asked me to speak for testimony. Unquote. The following story mentions homophobia. Quote, back in December, my girlfriend and I were sitting together in a pretty secluded area when a group of boys came walking past and made comments like, that's disgusting, and look at those F slurs. We ignored them, but about 20 minutes later, things started to get thrown at us, such as tennis balls, pine cones, and baseballs. My girlfriend got hit in the back of the head. I reported it the next day and was told by the administration that they could not do anything about it because they could not prove that it was a hate crime. I'm scared to walk by them alone because when I do, food is thrown and I get glared at, and they call me slurs. I'm scared to be alone at school. I've even gotten a phone call from one of them. This incident has been the cause of many panic attacks, but I can't do anything about it because they're all still at school with no punishment. Unquote. These stories are just 2 out of hundreds we have received. It is obvious that discrimination is alive and well in the district and needs to be handled immediately in a systemic manner. Following our last public comment at the April 1st board meeting, the superintendent encouraged students to submit their stories to anonymous alerts so the district can solve these stories individually. In doing so, the district once again missed the purpose of sharing our stories. Rather than viewing these instances as problems that can be individually dealt with, we urge you all to view them as the systemic, deep-rooted problems that they are. We ask you to change your policies to produce outcomes that are unequivocally equitable. To the adults and especially administrators listening, we hope you can see the hate on your campuses and take action with us through equitable policies. The district, once again, we hope you will translate these words into policy and accountability rather than placing blame on individuals. Thank you all so much for listening.
Thank you. And Jacob Nagai, is that how you say your name?
It's Nye.
Nye, I apologize.
Hi, my name is Jacob Nye, and I speak on the ruling that club players cannot play both school and club sports. I want to start this off by saying that I understand that this rule was most likely made because of safety reasons, and I am not asking to risk anyone's health. Club sports are a lot safer than some of you may think. Since clubs are forced to shut down if it is brought to their attention that there's been a COVID case, they are unable to make money. This means that they have to be more cautious than the district does to keep their club up and running. After the club ruling, we barely have enough to play. I believe a good resolution to have all club players who want to play school as well as clubs in our district to be fully vaccinated before playing. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Okay, that's it for public comments. Ms. Chalkley. Okay, we'll move on now to governing board comments. Does anyone from the governing board wish to speak? Ms. Andrade Zuniga. Okay.
Buenas tardes. Good evening, everybody. I just first want to acknowledge our Ramatesh Ohlone Indigenous lands that we're on, that our district sits on, before we start. I also wanted to bring light to some, I guess, celebrations that are going on in our communities here in our district. First, it is Ramadan, and so I wanted to acknowledge that it's Arab American History Month. So all of our students and administrators, teachers, staff that are in our district, just celebrating this month, I wanted to acknowledge them. I also wanted to bring to light a lot of the violence that's gone on again in our Black communities. I wanted to make sure that we are keeping up with what's going on and that we are acknowledging that our communities are still suffering, and also in our AAPI communities. So I didn't want to, I want to make sure that our students know that we see this and that we hear them and that we do everything we can to make sure that this isn't going on in our school communities. But I wanted to also address what SMUHSD awareness had brought up again tonight, that I did not address at the last meeting we had earlier in the month. It's very important for our students to have an outlet somewhere for them to acknowledge what's happening to them, regardless if it's something anonymous or not. If it's anonymous, sometimes that's the only place that people have to acknowledge what's happened. When I was in high school, something happened to me that I never addressed because I was embarrassed. And I didn't have an outlet, even anonymously. I wasn't going to be able to say anything because, again, I didn't have an outlet. So if this is the only place for our students to be able to address these issues, just that is the best place. Eventually, that might be somewhere where, or that might give them more power to be able to then address it to our administrators or to a staff member, whoever, disclosing who they are and what happened specifically. But we have to meet people where they're at, and this is where they're at. So I support you and I see you, and the rest of our board does too. So we want to respect that. I also want to give a shout out to our Black Parents Association for a wonderful unity in the community night. I was able to catch the tail end of it as there was another event going on the same night. But it's great, and I'm glad that this is happening to create unity in our school communities. The other event that I had advertised earlier in the month at our last board meeting, for students with disabilities, with Alice Wong through Yo Disabled and Proud, was great. It was recorded, so if you'd like to get that recording, if you have students that would benefit from this, it's on the Yo Disabled and Proud website. You can reach out to them and they can give you that information. But also acknowledging our PTSOs. We're getting to the end of our school years, and so we'd like I guess I would like to acknowledge that parents get involved. You know, these are great places for you to be great voices and get information. So thank you. And one other thing that I forgot to mention was that Cesar Chavez Day was March 31st, and acknowledging our indigenous communities, I'm sorry, our immigrant communities and everything that they've done to contribute to our world in our country is very much celebrated. So thank you, everybody. And that's it. Thanks a lot.
Does anybody else have a report out? Any comments? Quickly, I was a participant in the unity in the community, and while it was good and we involved a lot of people, I was disappointed because there's actually fewer people at the third one than were at the second one, and it was the same suspects, you know, which is a hard, and I say that as a term of endearment, the same suspects. That the people that participated are obviously hardcore, and I think we need to, and this was the last meeting for the year, we need to figure out what it takes to enlarge the group and not have the group shrink. And we're trying to be very active in terms of involving people and letting them have a voice. The voice the other night was talking about people feeling disconnected. And I guess one of the chief concerns is a lack of representation in our employment, you know, our employees and our faculty. And the district does have a plan to address that. And they also talked quite a bit about the lack of literature, you know, that was culturally representative of the various races and stuff. So talked about curriculum. They did like the changes with ethnic studies, and you know, generally the people that there, I think we're very happy. We just need to have more people there. So that's my report. Anybody else? Going once, going twice. Okay, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Does anybody wish to pull an item? Trustee Lees Dwyer? Or was that a comment?
Yes, no, I would like to pull J1, the Push Record LLC contract. I have reviewed it, and I know that Nancy is actually working on it right now. It has a lot of language in it that really is inappropriate for working with a school district. So I know that Yancy is working to get that remedied.
Okay, so we have, we're going to push. Do you want it pulled?
Yes, pulled. It's
okay.
Push Record LLC.
Okay, we're gonna amend the consent agenda.
Mr. Hawkins has advised me that he is in agreement with this because he's working on it.
Okay, totally believe you. So we'll amend the consent agenda item J1 to exclude the Push Record LLC contract.
I move approval.
Okay, we got a motion by trustees Lees Dwyer and a second by trustee Land. And trustee Andrade Zuniga, how do you vote?
Yes.
Trustee Land?
Yes.
Trustees Lees Dwyer?
Yes.
Trustee Hanley?
Yes.
Okay, I'll vote yes, and that's a 5-0 on the amended consent agenda. Okay, moving on to regular reports. The report of the superintendent.
Thank you very much, Mr. Griffin. I've been out visiting schools. Things are going well. We wish we had more students here. We always like to see students. The energy was really good before spring break, and then people went away. And we've, you know, there's always this sort of time right after spring break as we start preparing for the sprint to the finish line. It's a little bit lower energy, and this year certainly is no exception. I too attended the Unity in the Community event, and we had the students play an increasingly large role in the event, and they were more the MCs than staff were. I have to say, once again, this generation of student presenters is just about as as good as you'll ever see. I mean, they just continue to do fantastic things. We need to keep that in mind as we have these presentations. And next meeting, I'll remind, I don't have the date exactly, but the baccalaureate, which is when we honor the Black Parents Association honors the graduates. This is the 36th year running. I think that I'll have that date for you. And then I was also thinking that we need to nominate these Unity in the Community events for a Kent Award in the future. Speaking of Kent Awards, we have a winner this year, and we'll be presenting at the Kent Awards in the coming weeks as we go forward. I want to mention that we're proud to commemorate the 10th annual recognition of Autism Acceptance Month. Autism acceptance means respecting the rights and humanity of all autistic people. It means centering the perspectives and needs of autistic people with intellectual disabilities, non-speaking autistic people, and autistic people with the highest support needs. It means fighting to ensure that universal rights of all autistic people are respected, especially the rights of those autistic people with the most significant disabilities. Our district welcomes students with autism in all of our schools and strives to promote safe and welcoming learning environments for all. And I also want to say that this is also National Poetry Month. I often say to my own children and to other kids who are studying science and math and all those good hard sciences that we also need more poets and artists as well. So those folks who are so inclined, we want to celebrate your gifts as well. Next, we're going to have a presentation that Dr. Black and Ms. Devaney will walk us through that outlines some of the pieces. Usually we have it as one of the highlights, but we think we can go through this fairly quickly. It hasn't been that long since you met, but things just continue to evolve every single day. And we want to give you a report tonight. So with that, we're going to share our screen, and Dr. Black, you'll walk us through this.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Skelly. We have a short update to review our progress with in-person learning since our last board meeting. We'll start with Sarah Devaney, our student health coordinator. Next slide.
Hey everyone. So let's talk a little bit about what we've done with our student testing and our staff testing in the last 2 weeks. We continue with our surveillance model. We're just under 2,000 tests provided in the last 14 days, including during spring break. We've done a lot of testing. About 800 staff members and a little over 1,100 students. What I really want to point out here is since we started testing late October, early November, we've completed 8,330 resulted tests. And our negativity rate is 98.48%. And then we have an other rate of 1.52%. So in other, that includes our positive cases, our quantity not sufficient, and a few other categories. So wanted to point that out and then also mention that we know in some areas of the country, cases are on the rise, but here we are steady, seeing the same steady cases. Next slide, please. Next slide, there we go. And so vaccines, today is a really exciting day. I think Dr. Black had mentioned that Governor Newsom claim today was Vax Day instead of traditionally the April 15th tax day. So it's really exciting that 16-year, all Californians and then 16 years and up are eligible for vaccinations as of today. We know that our county office of ed as well as our public health department are working really hard to help get our young adults vaccinated, which is going to directly impact us. So we're excited about that. And then since the last time we met, we've increased our vaccination rates for our staff from 75% to 95% have received now their second vaccine. That's it for me, please.
Next slide, please. The interactive process conversations have continued over the past 2 weeks with some of our employees. This slide contains the overall request number of all of our employees and a summary of the reasons. The current processes in place have to do, though, with those reaching full vaccinations, changing medical conditions, and schools reopening, so childcare is less of an issue, allowing many employees to return back to the campuses from working at home. Next slide. This slide breaks out the teachers from the total staff interactive process numbers. And there are 163 teachers who have requested accommodations out of our total of 534 teachers district-wide. This slide lists the weeks of return to campuses for those able to return from working from home. As you can see, many teachers returned to on-site work this week. Much of that was due to being fully vaccinated. Of the 82 that will be working from home until the end of the school year, we should note that many of those individuals are only working from home either on Wednesdays when students are at home as well, or on a combination of days during the week, usually due to their childcare, but they're not at home every day. Some staff are, but certainly not the most of those 82 teachers. And in the fall, we expect everyone to be fully back for the start of the next semester. That's our hope. Next slide. There has been some confusion regarding the roles that different governmental bodies play in the oversight and decision-making of schools during the pandemic and the related health and safety protocols. So this slide provides an overview. First, the County Board of Supervisors sets health policy for county districts in general. Next, the county superintendent is an elected position, and our superintendent, Nancy McGee, has provided excellent guidance to county districts by summarizing COVID-related directives from many sources and then communicating them in a way that is pertinent for school districts. The County Board of Education oversees the county educational programs and not county school districts. And finally, our Board of Trustees directs and decides policies pertaining to San Mateo Union High School District in general, in line with the health policies set by the County Board of Supervisors. Next slide. Dr. Skelly.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, we've got our safety plan calls for up to 30% of the enrollment on campus on any given time. And the number of signups means that rather than have to use a hybrid model, with many of our schools and our grades, we're able to bring back all the students for 4 days. And so the plan is to do that starting on April 26th. And schools are going to reach out to families where students are struggling and not coming to class and not coming to classroom, and encourage them to be on campus to get the kind of support that they need. Next slide. So this is that. Oh, go ahead. You go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry, Dr. So this slide shows the number and percentage of students returning to in-person instruction. 4 sites, as Dr. Skelly mentioned, are under 30%, and they'll be the first ones to offer students 4 days and combine their cohorts. Next slide. As Dr. Skelly mentioned, many of our cohorts will be combined to one. And in order to do this, we had to update our site plans. This has been done and they have been submitted to the county. Next slide. The athletic directors have done tremendous work working overtime this whole year. And they've been able to provide our students with all sports seasons as of this week. This has been an amazing achievement, given the short timelines that the ADs have had. They've really been tireless. Over the past couple of weeks, they have been able to organize sports seasons for the indoor sports of volleyball, basketball, and wrestling. This included developing a COVID testing program, since our county is in the orange tier and these indoor sports are in the yellow tier. These competitions will be regimented per our health and safety protocols and will be in district play only. Right now, the decision on spectators is pending, and we're looking forward to starting the seasons for these indoor sports next week. Next slide. Now, Dr. Skelly will conclude his remarks.
So I just want to make one, could you go back that one slide? I'm sorry. The last slide about athletics. The student who spoke talked a little bit about volleyball and club versus playing both club and school sports. And if you notice, these are yellow tier sports. We're still in orange. And the challenge with those are the increased testing that you need to do with respect to that, 48-hour testing before competitions and the like. So when you allow students, and we have this issue with club basketball, club volleyball, and if you allow kids to do both of those activities, there's way more risk of kids getting COVID, and then we have to quarantine the whole team from an activity that happened on the club sphere. So we're sympathetic to the kids' needs on these areas, but we think in the interest of caution and the safety and the opportunity for all the students, as well as more importantly the kids who are coming to school every day, that this is the prudent action. Not popular, but the right thing to do. So I think that concludes my report tonight, and we'll go from there.
Bob, you're on mute.
No,
Yeah,
I know I was on my mute. My wife was running dishwater. Sorry. Okay, report of the student board member.
I think Mr. Land and Mr. Hanley would like to say something maybe about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask a couple questions. So with
sorry. I apologize. Yeah, I lost
Okay.
my attention. Go ahead.
No, slight distraction, but totally understandable. Anyway, Dr. Black, going back to what you were talking about with sports with the yellow tier. So are we saying that all in San Mateo County, all yellow tier sports are not being competitive right now? Is that what's happening?
No, I didn't mean to say that. I meant to say that our competition, our seasons will be within our district schools for safety reasons.
So what's happening? So what's happening in other districts? Are they competing?
They're either competing within their district or they're with partner districts. Yes.
So just an update on that. It appears that in terms of the yellow sports, that Sequoia and Cabrillo and ourselves are the three that are, and then La Honda Pescadero are the four districts. The northern districts don't have plans to do yellow sports.
Okay. So I'm wondering, what does the county say? What is the county superintendent direction? Are they giving us guidance on that?
Which part?
Well, since it seems to be so mixed, it seems to be like some districts are allowing it and some people aren't. I'm wondering why we are choosing what we're choosing.
Well, you can do it. You just have to have a strong testing regime, and that's what we're doing. There's not a question about whether you can or can't. It's just if you do it, you have to take more precautions than you would for a tennis or cross country or a sport like that.
And that's what. So that's what you were trying to point out was the more things you have to do if you're going to do that sport because it's a yellow tiered sport.
That's right.
Okay. Going back to your other comment, Dr. Skelly, I think the reason, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but if there's a club sport and a team sport that you're combining cohorts, is that what's going on? Because if you have two different sets and you're mixing, and I think that's what the problem is. And I understand the concern, but it's one of the big directives that we get from the county health is not to mix cohorts.
Yeah, as much as you can, yes.
Right.
Trustee Andrade Zuniga.
I think Trustee Hanley was performing.
Okay, Trustee Hanley.
I just wanted to clarify a bit on the slide where you had the entities with you had the Board of Supervisors and the county board and so forth, because I think that's a little bit confusing. It's really there's several entities that can make health orders in the state and in the county, and it's really the local health officer that makes the health orders rather I mean, he does technically report to the Board of Supervisors, but the Board of Supervisors really is not involved in making the health orders. And, you know, then you've got the governor can make a health order, and you've got the California Department of Public Health, which is really, you know, making the controlling health orders like the sports. I think the yellow tier or orange tier health orders on sports are coming out of the CDPH. And then, you know, for the workforce, they're coming out of Cal OSHA. So those are really the controlling public health organizations in California that are really have regulatory public health authority in California. So I think that slide just is a little bit confusing about, you know, who has authority and where it comes from. And then you've got CDC guidance at the national level. So I just wanted to throw that in because I think that slide's a little bit confusing and so I wanted to clarify that.
Yes, I agree. It was given to us by the county. So, I mean, there had been a lot of questions about, you know, county procedures and what's the framework in the county. And that's, you know, we solely limited it to the county instead of going to the state and the governor and the CDC and whatnot. But, you know, having said all that, we've had, and Ms. Devaney can also mention the great assistance we've had from the county, from the health department. They've been tremendous. They're available on the phone all days of the week, all hours of the day. And they ask great questions and really take the time to go through all of our situations and provide guidance. But yes, thank you. Thank you for expanding that, Mr. Hanley.
Trustee Andrade Zuniga.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for all of this hard work. I think our staff and our students too, just everything everybody's endured over the past year is it's a lot of work. So I definitely see all the hard work you guys have put in. I have some questions around the sports in terms of the safety protocols. I've seen emails on both sides, like, you know, what are they and who oversees them and whatever. So what, out of all of the safety protocols for all the different sports, since they are different in the way that they, you know, are played and performed, who oversees the different, like, it's the same for all the schools, right? And then amongst each coach or each person overseeing that particular sport, do they, like, how do they, I guess, oversee that the protocols are being done properly? And then who oversees that all of the sports are, that, you know, are doing things properly in terms of the protocols and things like that to reduce the spread of whatever infection there is going on. Also, my second question is, and since all of the information is so different for different reasons, these are more towards the vaccinations and the testing. Have you seen people not, like, some people being resistant to getting tested or being vaccinated? And if so, what's done when there is that resistance, and like, how is that addressed? Thank you.
Okay, so for the first question about athletics, we've really depended on our health team led by Ms. Devaney. So maybe you could address that part, Sarah.
Yeah, absolutely. So typically our athletic directors, myself, Dr. Skelly, Dr. Black, we meet to review whenever there's new guidance, right? So we know that the guidance continues to change. As quickly as we can, we pivot and modify to meet that guidance. So for our upcoming and our sports that we've had previously, all of the guidance sets or all of the safety protocols that we're doing for kids returning to school is the same thing we're doing for sports. So there's a daily health screening, there's attendance follow-up, there's attendance tracking. Coaches and athletic directors and athletic trainers follow up and are responsible. If there's an absence, if there's an illness, if there's an exposure, all of those things get directed to me, and then I work with the county to determine the level of exposure, if there is a case. And then in terms of are they required to wear masks, when they're required to do disinfectant, all of those things we're following. It's the same thing that's in our return and our reopening plans. And so that all falls into our facilities. When it's used, things are clean. We're really following the CBPH guidance on youth sports, on recommendation and guidance related to when you're wearing a mask, when you're not wearing a mask. And then now with the addition for yellow sports of the increased testing frequency for this higher risk when it's indoors. I hope that helps to answer, but it's a moving target. We're trying to keep up with it as quickly as it changes and make it work for our students as safely as possible.
And and then in terms of staff willingness to be tested, I think we've had really good experience with that. It's in our MOU, and I mean, that's what the teachers ratified, and they want a safe environment, and they expect each other to be tested for COVID. And I see Sarah nodding her head. What you want to expand a little bit on that?
I just agree. I think that staff have been great. They try to make it work when they're on campus. If it's not happening on their campus on the day that they're there, I had a couple people swing by the DO parking lot today and I ran a test out to them. I know the health aides are doing the same, and so are the athletic trainers to meet sort of the needs and the schedules as we can. So not a ton of resistance, I would say, and then we just try to adjust and modify and educate to make sure we're meeting everyone's needs. And then let's see, for the vaccine, I haven't heard a ton. Early on when we were rolling out with the county, the appointments, we did have people share with us if they were declining and didn't need the appointment, so we could move that along. So I do know we have a list there, but that's sort of where we are, and I think that percent is pretty low.
Thank you. What about with students? With testing?
If they're on campus, they're testing unless there is a concern or a medical condition or something that would permit or prohibit them. And then we're working closely with parents and teachers and staff to assess that. And then if they're unable to, we do our best to modify the other barriers. How do we increase the other safety things? How do we increase the HEPA filter? How do we increase the N95s? Offer masking, offer the shields.
Thank you. I guess one more question. So with the testing, is there any, well, I guess testing and vaccinations, is there how do you collect how many people have been, well, I guess more for the vaccinations, really, that's the most important. You're keeping information, like statistical information on who, like how many people have gotten vaccinated and whether one, or the other, or like one or two. And and I'm not talking about names or anything like that. It's just like blanket information to know who, how many people are covered. And then also as the vaccinations roll out for youth, are we going to be able to keep information I guess statistical to know how many people are vaccinated within our county? Like, how are they going to report, or do they report?
Those are great questions. And I think we're hoping we're going to get some guidance from the state, at least with supporting the youth immunization and vaccination program. For staff right now, whenever there is, right, with this new travel guidance, or there's a case, or there's an exposure, or they have symptoms, those are questions the county is asking us to ask staff and to show documentation of that. So if there's a case, if they have been vaccinated, do they meet that definition of fully vaccinated? Do they have the document to share that with us? And people are doing that, and I'm seeing that. So those questions are coming up, and we're determining right level of risk and exposure, and then how we respond based on that and the fully vaccinated guidance. And then with students and staff, absolutely, we are going to creating a way that we can collectively and safely and securely store that information, like we would in HR or we would in the students' records with their other immunizations.
Thank you.
So that concludes my report.
I have a quick question, and it was one of the slides that talked about 95% of the staff, I believe, and I don't know if it was professional, the instructional staff, or if it was all the employees had been vaccinated. And I think that was two vaccinations in the case where they had to have two, so they're fully vaccinated.
Yeah, they've received their second dose. So I'm not sure if we're at the 2-week mark yet for that, but we know that 95% have received the second dose.
So the 5% that had not, is this a case where they chose not to, or they were not able to secure it and want it? Or do we know anything about the 5%?
We don't know a lot about if they decline. We don't know a lot about that.
Okay, do we know if they are and there was a good portion that were not, we're going to remain off campus. Do we have any idea whether they're amongst those that are going to remain off campus, or do we know?
For the work at home,
Yes.
hasn't been any accommodations that I've, of all those 163 teachers that were because they wouldn't get vaccinated. So that 5% may just be, people waiting to get their second shot, or taking their time to get vaccinated. But there hasn't been, there were requests for people waiting to be fully vaccinated, but there weren't any requests for people that said, I'm just not getting vaccinated, therefore I need to work at home. That hasn't come up.
Thank you. I appreciate your answers.
I'm done.
Okay. K2, report of the student board members.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. I wanted to acknowledge that in addition to National Poetry Month and also Arab American Heritage Month, this month is also Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And I believe this is especially significant as it relates to the comments that SMUHSD Awareness brought up tonight. I wanted to remind everyone to provide your friends and loved ones with a safe and comforting space for them to feel welcomed in. As for the student report, our student government has recently helped support this transition to in-person school for some of our students, and we have been working on creating just activities and events to increase, the morale and culture at our school that are accessible for both in-person and online students. So our schools have been working really hard with that. We have also been working on a transition for environment as we near the SATs and the AP tests and finals, and kind of tests like that. We want to create a supportive scholastic environment for our students to feel motivated in. And then we also are working to encourage our seniors to kind of finish strong. And then we are working on planning a safe and just fulfilling graduation for our seniors, because we know this can be especially difficult for them to kind of graduate in this climate. I also believe that Annalie had a few words to say.
Yes, good evening. So for this meeting, I just thought that it would be extremely appropriate to take my time. Obviously this week is a bunch of students have been able to return to campus, just to shed light on the plethora of groups of students, faculty, and staff who are working extremely hard throughout the district to continue to build back some of the normalcy that we've been missing. So to start off, I would like to appreciate the excitement of the students who have finally been able to get back on campus and see fellow students and some of their teachers. I would also like to acknowledge the students who made the decision to stay home, as they believe that would serve them best for the rest of the semester. I would like to thank the staff members who have remained home but are still teaching. Thank you to all of the teachers who have gone back to in-person instruction for our students. Thank you to admin who have been working tirelessly around the clock on senior activities and all of the other important things that they do for us. Thank you to the coaches of all of our sports teams. Thank you to our activity directors, our custodial staff who keep our campuses clean. Thank you to these groups and so many others across the district who do so much for us. We really appreciate all that you do. I hope that this transition continues to move forward very smoothly.
Okay, thank you. K3, report of the District Teachers Association Rep.
Good evening, President Griffin, members of the board, district cabinet. First, I'm pleased to see that there's significant progress on the HVAC upgrades in the district. This has been a long time coming, and our community really deserves this type of effort. I'm looking forward to seeing the progress. First, Annalie said a lot of really, she sort of stole my thunder. I wanted to really appreciate everyone tonight for, the incredible endeavor that we're all embarking on here. But I'll say more about that in my comments. Dr. Skelly often closes messages with the phrase, "on we go." This week, I would say that we're off and running. The reopening thus far has been a relatively smooth operation, considering the extraordinarily complex task that we have at hand. All students who have elected to return to campus are attending classes, engaging in classroom instruction, and eating lunch with new friends, appropriately distanced, of course. All of my students have said lunch is the best. It's absolutely the best. It's unfortunate. It is very fortunate that the numbers worked out so that we can provide opportunities for those who've chosen to Zoom in the room and be with their teachers on campus. I must again recognize all of our teachers for again, and for the third time, reinventing their instructional practice to accommodate this new mode of simultaneous streaming and classroom instruction. Their efforts to meet the needs of students and families has gone above and beyond of any typical or atypical, for that matter, school year. But as I've said before many times, this is what we do, this is who we are. Of course, the smooth opening would not have been possible without the careful planning by all the parties. We are fortunate that all the parties maintained consistent focus on the goals of safety and success. The successful collaboration with attention to detail between the parties was instrumental in providing an effective reopening. I must also again recognize the steadfast support of the classified staff and all the site administrators in this endeavor. It goes without saying that their work behind the scenes, quote unquote, has been truly the prerequisite to the implementation of this reopen plan. In short, we have all come together as a community to work toward a shared goal. In my comments at the last meeting, I took a personal privilege to locally recognize my own site administrators on how much the Hillsdale staff appreciated their support. With your indulgence, I will do so again. In an effort to commend a specific administrative action on a very specific controversial issue, I specifically mentioned our principals and one of our APs. I realized later that without providing context for my specific reference, it may have seemed that I was excluding other instrumental players. That was certainly not my intention. I know I speak for my fellow Knights when I say that we recognize and appreciate the support of all our site administrators. Ashley, Sarah, Brett, and Jeff have all done an amazing job in getting us all off and running. I also mentioned last time that now is not the time to undermine our initial successes by altering the carefully constructed plan. We must continue to execute our reopening plans with the utmost fidelity. It is what the teachers, our students, and the community expect and deserve. Now is the time to proceed thoughtfully, cautiously, and with an eye on science. To that end, I am proud that our district has implemented and maintained a consistent and thoughtful testing regimen. You have heard tonight about the impressive number and cadence of testing of students and staff. It is only with this level of testing and consistency that we're able to identify all of the positive cases on our campuses. While the number may be small relative to the population of the district, the fact that we have identified so many positive cases so quickly has meant that we can act with agility and to maintain our commitment to the community of safety and success. Of course, we are also providing meaningful contributions in the effort to improve public health and end this pandemic. To be clear, we have not heard any resistance to the testing cadence for teachers, nor have we heard any requests that vaccinated teachers not be tested. We have indeed heard requests to test more frequently, which is of note. This is especially important as the rate of testing in California has plummeted by over 60% since January, over 25% down in San Mateo County alone. Experts agree that if we do not test, then we blind ourselves about where and how the virus is spreading. Frequent testing also allows us to break the chain of spread and further reduce the opportunity to replicate and mutate. Again, this is not the time to relax our efforts. This is especially true with the recent and significant increase in breakthrough cases where fully vaccinated individuals contract the virus, either the wild type or one of the more contagious variants. We must deliver on our commitment to the community. We are not out of the woods yet, but we are off and running. Let's stay focused. I'm also pleased that the district is presenting just tonight its initial proposal for negotiations. Fall semester is less than 4 months away. On we go. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Childress. Report of the CSEA Chapter 519 representative.
Good evening, President Griffin, members of the board, Dr. Skelly, and everyone here tonight. Welcome back from spring break. We hope everyone was able to get some much needed rest. With the first full week of our return to school in full swing, all hands have been very busy with both normal and expanded work assignments. We are happy to report positive feedback from some of our classified staff regarding the return to school, as we all get more acclimated with the process and changes. On that note, it has been exciting and heartwarming to see our students in person again. Even under these unique circumstances, we are proud of our classified staff and departments who have continued to make the return to school transition as smooth as possible. In addition to the reassignments, there has been out-of-class work, as some classified staff have gladly taken on responsibilities for out-of-class positions that may or may not be filled. We support our members who have stepped up and have been working multiple position and additional hours. We expect all out-of-class work will be approved and processed in a timely manner by the district. Throughout the past year, we were informed that anyone who was sent home to quarantine due to possible COVID-19 exposure would not have their accrued sick time deducted. Unfortunately, this did not occur. We want to remind the district of these unresolved occurrences and guarantee those hours are reinstated. Additionally, regarding the differences between a work shift and a work schedule hours, we want to acknowledge that there is a significant difference between the two. We stand firm in understanding that a day, swing, and night shift has a set of scheduled hours in that shift. We agree that hours can be adjusted as long as it stays within the shift. The distinction between a work shift and scheduled work hours greatly impact our employees whose lives may be directly affected by a sudden shift change without their consent. Considering we all have been flexible during this time, we hope you hear us and will validate and rectify our concerns. I'd like to wish you all a wonderful evening. Thank you for your time, and I will see you at the next meeting.
Thank you. A report of San Mateo Adult School Teachers Association representative. Is there, Ms. Chalkley is?
Yes, I'm here. I'm just trying to get my camera on. One moment, please. Thank you. Okay. One moment, please. Okay, good evening, President Griffin, trustees, and Dr. Skelly. My name is Kelly Underwood Rosmus, and I'm honored to be here tonight to represent our union local CFT 4681 and San Mateo Adult School. I teach English to speakers of other languages, also known as ESL, at the adult school. And it's my great joy to help immigrants integrate into our community. I also have a son in the district who's a junior in the middle college program. Next week is Adult Education Week, which is a statewide event. We invite you to celebrate with us the pivotal role we play in this community. We serve the families and neighbors of the SMUHSD high school students, providing community stabilities and pathways to success. During this pandemic, our work has been especially important as we have provided not only English as a second language classes, but also GED and high school diploma classes and testing. We've also started exciting new career ed classes for clinical medical assistants, dispensing opticians, and pharmacy technicians, all classes leading to solid jobs. And our community and active adults classes have continued to anchor mental and physical health in the community at large, something we greatly need during this trying time. Next week, as part of Adult Education Week, our director, Angela Taylor, our ESL specialist and adult school alumna, Marina Kravstova, our student council leaders, and our union member, Cynthia Eagleton, will meet with local legislative staff to talk about our role in the community. One moment, please. Apologize for that. Also, as part of Adult Education Week, our ESL specialist, Marina Kravsova, along with student leaders Shelley Cheng and Nadia Fontes, will present at the statewide conference for the California Council of Adult Education. As mentioned above, Marina Kravsova is not only a staff member at the adult school, but also an alumna. She has played a pivotal role in developing our student leadership team to present at statewide and national adult education conferences. Their presentation next week is called Winning the Trifecta: Student Engagement, Integration, and Educational Leadership. And this will take place next Friday, April 23rd at the California Council for Adult Education Conference. Finally, I would like to highlight another staff member at the adult school, Ms. Tia Marlowe. Tia heads our Comprehensive Adult Student Assessment System, otherwise known as CASAS. Every student at our adult school takes this test at least twice a year to help our school and the state track their progress. Tia presented at the CASAS National News and Update webinar. She presented on testing multiple students remotely for a nationwide audience of over 1,100 participants. Many adult schools around the nation are struggling right now with testing remotely, and our school is considered one of the leaders in the nation for remote testing. I would like to close with thanking this board for all you have done to support our adult school over the years. Every day, I see the joy and confidence our students gain, not only from building skills that will improve their lives, but also from developing relationships with their classmates who come from every corner of the globe. Thank you for allowing our school's classes to stay 100% remote for our summer term, which starts on May 3rd and ends on July 16th. Our students and teachers overwhelmingly voted to remain online for the summer term, as many of our students wait to be vaccinated and remain at home with their young children who remain at home for school at least part-time. Again, thank you, and we look forward to seeing you again. Another member of our team will be seeing you again at the next meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, we're going to move on. Dr. Black, L1, adoption of resolution 2021-23, acknowledging Day of the Teacher.
So I'll take this item. This is, we discussed this, Mr. Griffin and Mr. Hanley at the agenda setting. In many years, we put this on the consent agenda, and certainly this year is one to put it on the actual agenda. So it's here for your approval.
I'd like
Does
to.
any board member wish to speak? Trustee Land.
I was just going to say, I'd like to make a motion to pass the resolution 2021-23, acknowledging the Day of the Teacher and honoring our.
I will second.
Okay, so we got a motion by Trustee Land and second by Trustee Andrade Zuniga. Trustee Andrade Zuniga, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Okay, Trustee Land.
Absolutely yes.
Absolutely. Trustee Lees Dwyer.
Yes.
Trustee Hanley.
Yes.
Okay, and I'll vote yes. And I suppose the comments, and we have motions and we have days and we have weeks and we put them on the consent agenda. And I don't know that we really give people the recognition. I think we have extremely hardworking teachers and classified staff within the district. And this has probably been the most difficult year probably everybody has faced up to. And I really think that, we've seen the stuff that our teachers and our classified staff are made of. And, it's been a very difficult time, and I don't speak on the behalf of the board, but certainly I want to recognize and know that your efforts are really appreciated. And we thank you sincerely. So, and the motion passed 5-0. Does anybody have a comment, or we'll move on? L2, resolution.
Yeah, similarly, tonight we're bringing before you a resolution acknowledging the Classified School Employee Week. One is a day, one is a week, but neither one can capture, I think, the full spirit of how grateful we are for these employees and their contributions to our district. So with that, we present it to you and ask for your approval.
Is there a motion?
I move approval.
Second.
Okay, you're scattered all over here. Was that you, Trustee Andrade Zuniga, that made the motion? Or was that you with me?
Yes, Trustee Dwyer and I will tag team.
I'll be second.
I don't think tag team exists in Robert's Rules of Order or the government code. So you made the motion and Trustee Lees Dwyer made the second. Yeah. Trustee Andrade Zuniga.
I vote yes.
And Trustees Land.
Yes, and I thank you for your comments because you do speak for the board, at least.
Okay, Trustees Lees Dwyer.
I agree, yes.
Okay, Trustee Hanley.
Yes.
Okay, and I will vote yes, and that motion passes 5-0. And we appreciate all the employees, and we certainly hope that we can do more to recognize you. Certainly, not only monetarily, but there's a lot of other things we should be trying to do to increase your stature, make life better for you. Do what we can to make you feel proud, because we're proud of you. So, okay. L3, Avid Senior Celebration. We're in the good part of the agenda.
We are indeed. These next two items, the Avid Senior Celebration and the DLAC Annual Update, are two items that we look forward to every year, and they're ably led by Dr. Sammy Showman, and we're here to honor some Avid students for their achievement. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Showman.
Thank you, Dr. Skelly, members of the board. I'm excited to be here this evening to introduce two of our Avid teachers and one of our counselors to celebrate our outstanding Avid senior students. Because of the timing of school campuses closing last year, we missed doing the celebration. So we're excited to bring it back tonight. I really want to take just a minute to commend all of our Avid staff and students for continuing the Avid family tradition of really supporting and taking care of one another during the last year and a half. It's incredibly inspiring to really witness the heart and soul that goes into Avid. And so now it's time to celebrate. So first up, we have Aragon High School, and Alejandra Cheever, who is an Avid 12th grade teacher and the co-coordinator of the program, will present her student, and then I'll introduce each other staff member before their school. So we can go to the next slide, and Alejandra, you're up.
Thank you so much, Dr. Showman, and thank you to the school board for having us here. It is my pleasure to introduce our Aragon Avid Senior Standout. Ashley Arce is an extraordinary student. It has been my privilege to have Ashley in my Avid class as a junior and a senior. Ashley excels in all of the areas that are core to our Avid program. Focus note-taking. Ashley has some of the most amazing focus notes I have ever seen and is consistently awarded the Focus Note-Taking Award during our Avid celebrations. Tutorials. Ashley follows our tutorial process with fidelity. She's an excellent role model for her senior class peers and for our 9th through 11th grade Avid students. Her peers often recognize Ashley's contributions during tutorial in their reflections and also in their nominations for the Avid Family Award. Team building. Ashley is often awarded the Avid Family Award. Her own classmates express, She helps everyone out in class and tries to make Avid as best as it can be. Ashley is such a determined human being and always inspires me to do better. Individual determination, Ashley is incredibly driven and self-motivated. She always goes above and beyond what is expected. She was the first student to reach out to me about college applications, letters of recommendation, personal statements, and scholarship applications. She is incredibly organized and always on top of everything that she needs to get done. Additionally, Ashley works a part-time job, plays on the Aragon softball team, volunteers in the community, and thrives in rigorous courses such as pre-calculus. Ashley will be a first-generation college student. She has been a member of our Aragon Avid family for all 4 years and is already giving back to our program through her work as an Avid peer tutor and as an Avid ambassador. Ashley has helped us with visits to middle schools and during lunch information sessions. When I need student volunteers, I know I can count on Ashley to help our Avid family. Honestly, I'm really sad that Ashley is graduating because it is such a joy to work with her. I don't want to let her go. But I am so excited for Ashley as she moves into the next phase of her educational journey. Your Aragon Avid family is so proud of you and your amazing accomplishments, Ashley. Congratulations to Ashley Arce, our Aragon Avid Senior Standout for 2021.
Can I believe Ashley's here if she wanted to say something?
Yes, hi. I'm Ashley. As she said, I've been an Avid since I was a freshman, and the program has truly just done so many amazing things for me. I've had a lot of opportunities for personal and academic growth through the program that have helped me to become a more knowledgeable student. Avid has been extremely helpful with college visits, having a guide through the application process, and helping me with resources that other non-Avid students may not have had. As a first-generation college student, I needed a lot of help and a lot of questions answered. And throughout my time in Avid, I've had amazing teachers who have helped me throughout my journey. With their help, I have chosen to study construction management in the College of Engineering at Chico State next fall. And I truly believe that I would not have been able to make my decision if it weren't for the help and guidance that Avid has provided me. Truly, this program has helped me to succeed in high school, and I'm just so thankful for them and all of my teachers.
Thank you, Ashley. We're very proud of you. Next up is Faith Cabby-Ramel, who's a counselor at Cappuccino High School and actually one of our new co-coordinators of the Avid program from Cappuccino, who will present their senior standout. So we can go to the next slide. Faith. All right. Good evening, everyone. I have the pleasure of presenting Cappuccino Senior Standout Aron Martin Gomez. And I wanted to read something that his Avid teacher, Ms. Angelica Alvarez, wrote about him. Ms. Alvarez shared the following. I am so proud of the accomplishments Aron has been able to achieve and his growth since his freshman year. He started off as an ELD student in my history class. He always had a positive attitude and was a peer role model for his classmates. In that class, he was a student I knew I could rely on to share out or help a classmate. After his freshman year, he was able to move out of ELD and into mainstream classes. It was during his sophomore year that he joined the Avid class and has been with it ever since. He was able to work with Mr. Drew Bywater, continuing to build a solid foundation for the rest of his high school career. Mr. Bywater shared the following about Aron. Aron was a standout student as a sophomore in Avid. He was dedicated to his studies, improvement, learning, and pursuing his future. He has also become an incredible Avid tutor. He worked with students, helped with challenging problems, gave valuable advice, and showed them what it meant to be dedicated and hardworking. Aron, you worked hard and helped others when you could. You made the class environment fun, focused, and comfortable for all. Room H225 will miss you, but we know you are bound for great things. Ms. Alvarez added that she had the luck of being his Avid teacher for junior and senior years in Avid. Aron exemplifies an outstanding Avid senior because of his determination, self-advocacy skills, and his ability to collaborate with his peers. The application of these attributes during his college years will continue to allow him to be successful at whatever he sets his mind to. Next year, he will begin his journey in earning a degree in civil engineering. He is currently deciding which school to attend in the fall. She, along with the Cappuccino Avid team, are so proud of the young man you've grown into and are excited to see where your journey takes you. Congratulations. Thank you, Faith. I know I also see Aaron here if you wanted to say a few words.
Yes, please. Hi, I'm Aaron. In the first place, I want to thank my parents for the great support and dedication. I also want to thank my teachers, especially my AVID teachers, for their support and effort that they do to help students. I also want to thank Cappuccino High School for giving us their classrooms as homes where students can learn and become better persons. AVID had helped me a lot, especially in getting into college, and it's going to help me in the future by knowing how to take notes right. And again, I want to thank those who helped me. Thank you.
Thank you. We're very proud of you. And as someone who oversees all of our ELD programs, you're making all my dreams come true, seeing someone who started in ELD end up in AVID and in college. So good luck. I'm glad you're here this evening. And then to finish off, I would like to invite Miss Marlene Malone, who is an AVID teacher also of 12th grade at San Mateo and has been part of the AVID program for a very long time. We're thankful to have her. Marnie, we can go to the next slide. Oh, you're on mute.
Holy cow.
Zoom all day.
Why, thank you. I should be used to that at this point. So it's my pleasure to introduce Guadalupe. I first met Guadalupe last year, actually in my English class. She had me both first period and third period, so back to back. So I met her in English and then had the pleasure of having her also in my AVID class. And I very quickly recognized that, and I told her regularly that she is a rock star. She impressed me so thoroughly, not only in AVID and as a leader within the class, but seeing everything that we talk about in AVID play out in the academic courses as well. Regularly, she came into the classroom outside of class to check in, to clarify something she had read, to make sure, now, did I get this right? Or can you read this passage? Do I have the phrasing right? And just wanted to really embrace everything that she was being taught and put it into her own work. And so from that, her skills, she came in a strong writer and just grew exponentially over the course of the year. She then, in AVID class, also mirrored that same type of dedication within tutorial. My favorite was watching the APUSH group every single time gather, and it was, as was said with Aragon, everything that we teach, they were modeling. And it just made me so excited for what she will be doing in college, because she will be leading students on the most impactful study groups, because she already did it in high school for the APUSH class. She continually pushes herself with rigorous coursework. She took her first AP course as a sophomore. She continued junior year, and this year she's taking 2 AP courses. While she's doing that, she is continuing as a cheerleader for the 3rd year. She works with La Raza Unida, and she's also working part-time. And through all of this has maintained just exceptional grades. So I was so excited when it came to her opportunity to apply to colleges and continually receive the acceptance letters. And she just told me last week, and it brought tears to my eyes, she got accepted to her dream school of USC. So she is still in the process of deciding where she goes. She has many, many opportunities, and she is just a phenomenal young woman. So I am hoping that maybe she will come back as a tutor. As our last standout 2 years ago, AVID tutor is currently working with our students. So hopefully she will be part of the program for years ahead, because she is an example to all AVID students.
Thank you for that presentation. Guadalupe, I see you're here if you want to say a few words.
Yes, good evening, Board of Trustees. So my name is Guadalupe Silva Dueñas, and today I will be sharing with all of you what AVID has done for me. So AVID has provided me with 3 main things: skills, a family, and hope. To start off, the skills that Avid has helped me with are note-taking skills, teamwork, and organization skills. All of these abilities have contributed to my success in high school. On top of that, these skills have helped me feel as prepared as I can be for the next chapter of my life, college. If it wasn't for the weekly planner checks, the notes for homework, and the study groups, I wouldn't have developed such beneficial skills. In addition, Avid has become my second family, as it has united me with many students who understand the challenge of being first generation. This family that I can count on when I'm struggling with school because I have their support and encouragement. Avid has opened my eyes and made me realize how there are many people like me. Many others are also facing these challenging classes and their personal struggles all at once. However, they are not giving up and they are working hard with the support of Avid. Thus, everyone in Avid shares something in common, which brings us all together as a family to help each other get through the challenges as one. That is why I'm so glad I have become a part of this close-knit Avid family. Lastly, Avid has brought me hope throughout all 4 years. I used to have such a closed mindset before and would put myself down because of my family's financial situation. The idea of college was always a dream, but it was a dream with a price tag that I simply couldn't afford. I would constantly think that I wasn't good enough for college. However, thanks to Avid, my peers, and my Avid teacher, that has now changed. I now believe in myself and don't let money stop me from chasing my dreams. Something that before I would never have, chasing my dreams. Avid helped me visit college campuses and apply for colleges and scholarships, something that before I would have never imagined doing because of the barrier of money. However, Avid does not let money interfere with any opportunities. Thus, I grew hope. I now am about to graduate high school and I have been accepted to my dream school. All thanks to Avid, which has taught me that it is hard work and dedication that will help me reach my dreams. Therefore, I would like to give a big thank you to everyone who works hard to keep this program going, to the members of the board, the administration, and everyone involved. Thank you so much for this incredible program that I firmly believe will impact many other first generation students and will contribute tremendously to their success. Thank you.
Thank you, Guadalupe. I felt like, okay, deep breath, I'm not gonna cry. Thank you. You're an inspiration for many students. I was also a first generation college student. And, you know, I'm glad you got into your dream school, but I'm a UC Davis alum. So just in case you were thinking about a backup, congratulations. We are so proud of you. And like Ms. Malone shared, we hope that you'll come back and consider working with future Avid students. Congratulations to all of you tonight.
Okay. Well, thank you. Does the board have any comments? Trustee Andrade Zuniga.
Thank you. I just wanted to say felicidades to all of you. Congratulations. It's very, and I'm glad, Sonia, that you didn't cry because you would have turned on the waterworks for many of us. It makes me really proud because, you know, a lot of these students are from my community, and I'm so glad that you have this resource now. What are you going to do with it, right? And so just onward and upward. Congratulations.
Anybody else wish to comment? I just want to congratulate all the students, and I'm a big supporter of Avid, and I think I've talked in the last couple of years that my granddaughter was in the Avid program down in Southern California, and it really made a difference in her life and brought her out of her shell and gave her confidence, and she was able to do a lot more by participating in the program. So anyway, best of luck. Yes, sir. Trustee Land.
I'm just going to do a quick congratulations. They are just listening to their teachers and the amazing work that they've done. They should be very proud of themselves. It is one of the favorite things in these meetings is just to listen to the amazing work that you guys have done as students. And we're just very proud of you, and you make the whole district proud. So thank you very much.
Okay, well, Thank you. And we'll move on now to L4, the DLAC report, Dr. Shulman.
So I have the honor and privilege to introduce 3 representatives for hard hit by the pandemic and at the same time are able to remain resilient and committed to supporting their students. You're going to meet a few of these amazing and inspiring parents who are able to do that this evening. In addition, we have Elsa Polito, who serves as our district family engagement coordinator, who goes above and beyond, like all of our family engagement coordinators, to support our families. She's going to translate for 2 of our moms who are going to present in Spanish because they just feel more comfortable and they can get their point across better. But to start off, we can go to the next slide. I'd like to introduce and hand it off to Robert Porras, who is one of our representatives and parents from Aragon High School.
Thank you, Dr. Shulman. Good evening, everyone. My name is Robert Porras, and I'm the parent of a 9th grade student at Aragon High School. Being the child of immigrant parents myself, I recall the many challenges my parents faced during my educational journey. When I was given the honor of becoming a father to an immigrant child, I wanted to make sure I could do as much as I could to help equip her and others in her position for success. One avenue I could help accomplish this was participating in the DLAC program. Thanks.
Next slide.
Oh, sorry. Before sharing our recommendations, I would like to spend a few moments to recognize and celebrate some achievements by the district during this unprecedented period. DLAC would like to commend the district on ensuring food services were provided to both students and families as needed. We are thankful for everyone involved in organizing food pantries and distributing gift cards to those families in need. With the support from the transportation and nutrition departments, kudos to both Hillsdale and San Mateo High School for supporting families on a weekly and monthly basis. DLAC also wishes to extend gratitude towards all the efforts made with organizing internet connection through the Comcast Internet Essentials Partnership Program. Pivoting to remote learning was no easy feat, but the partnership between Comcast and the district enabled some of our low-income families to obtain internet connectivity at home. A third recognition we wish to highlight is the implementation of learning pods to help support our ELD students amongst other students in need. The hosting of monthly virtual town halls in Spanish by our family engagement coordinators in partnership with other agencies helped ensure families received much needed information. We wish to acknowledge and deeply appreciate Superintendent Skelly's attendance along with other site administrators. In addition to programming from the Wellness Department in Spanish and the increased amount of communication in Spanish from the district, our deepest and sincerest gratitude to our wonderful teachers who rose to the occasion, went the extra mile to support and teach our students while having to manage their own families. Next slide, please. Our recommendations tonight will focus on 4 key themes, those themes being communication, student support services, family support services, and district policies and processes. I will now segue to Señora Daisy, who will give in-depth detail into the recommendations. Señora Daisy, por favor.
Go to the next slide, please.
Muy buenas noches, mi nombre es Daisy Velázquez y soy una mamá de un estudiante del grado 10 en la escuela de San Mateo y ha sido un placer para mí participar por 2 años en el comité DLAC.
Years.
Next,
Elsa, would you like to translate that before she moves on?
Yes. Good evening. My name is Daisy Velasquez. I am the parent of a 10th grader at San Mateo High School, and it's been a pleasure to be part of DLAC for 2 years.
A continuación, a mí me toca hablar sobre las recomendaciones para la comunicación. Y tenemos como primer punto que se necesita comunicación temprana en una variedad de métodos. Pedimos que la comunicación a los padres del personal de la escuela, maestros y consejera, sea en varias formas.
My role is to communicate with you or communicate to you our recommendation based on communication. And one of our recommendations is early communication from school staff, including teachers and counselors.
Hay padres que no usan correo electrónico, aunque haya uno registrado. Muchos padres prefieren una llamada de teléfono o un mensaje de texto.
There are many parents who do not use email, even though they may have one in our school system. Many parents prefer communication via telephone calls or text messages.
Cuando se trata de comunicación sobre el desempeño académico, es muy importante que sea temprano para hacer un plan y no haya peligro de reprobar.
When there's any communication regarding academic concerns, it is very important that this communication to parents be done at early in time so that students may have an opportunity to plan how to remedy and avoid failure.
Y como segundo punto, tenemos el acceso a comunicarnos con el personal de las escuelas. Es importante tener acceso a número de teléfono donde se pueda dejar un mensaje directo a los maestros y consejeros. Este método es más fácil. Hay más familias que no se sienten cómodas o no saben escribir correos electrónicos.
Access to communicating with school staff is very important. Many parents are not comfortable communicating via email. Therefore, having a telephone number where parents can leave a voicemail message directly to staff is very important.
También como tercer punto está la comunicación clara sobre las ausencias y compromisos. Este año se introdujo un nuevo sistema para tomar asistencia en casa, donde el estudiante usaba el hotspot. A veces había interrupciones de internet y eso complicaba la participación. Es importante comunicar las expectativas claramente para también entender que siempre hay situaciones fuera de control para los estudiantes.
Having clear communication about absences is crucial. This year, the district implemented a new system of documenting absences and engagement. And some students happen to have connectivity problems, and that interrupted their participation. While it is important to have these clear guidelines about attendance, it is also important to have sensitivity to those students who lost engagement or due to situations outside of their control.
Y por último punto, referente a las recomendaciones es comunicación constante en los idiomas maternos del distrito y entre todos los sitios. La comunicación en español ha mejorado, pero aún puede mejorar más. Tenemos muchos idiomas en nuestras escuelas y toda comunicación del distrito de las escuelas debería fácilmente poder traducirse en el idioma de casa para que así las familias tengan acceso a la información.
Having consistent communication in the home languages to all families is important. While there have been some improvements, big improvements in communicating to the Spanish-speaking families, there are many languages represented in our district.
Part of it's because I'm sitting too much, but I'm just freezing.
There are There are many languages represented in our district, and it's important that families are able to translate those messages to their home language in order to understand the information that is being provided.
Por favor, el siguiente slide.
Go to the next slide, please.
Yeah. Continuaré con las siguientes recomendaciones y es sobre el apoyo al estudiante. Continuar brindando apoyo tecnológico a los estudiantes. Sabemos que habrá nuevos estudiantes sin conexión a Internet en casa. Pedimos que se haga lo posible de asegurar los hotspots para el comienzo del semestre. Conexión al Internet es súper importante, aunque si los estudiantes regresan a la escuela, ya que se les pide entregar tareas por Canvas y para eso se necesita acceso al Internet.
Continuing to support students with technology is vital. We know that there will be new incoming students without an internet connection. And let's see, internet connection, perdón, Daisy.
Y es importante, aunque si los estudiantes.
I got it. And even if students return to school, having that internet connection is very important because students need to submit assignments via Canvas, and in order to do that, they must be connected to the internet at home.
También sugerimos que después del día escolar hay apoyo académico y tutoría para aprendices de inglés solamente.
We are requesting that English learners have tutoring support outside of their school day, and this can be after school.
Ayuda académica fuera del día escolar es necesaria. Aprendices de inglés se pueden beneficiar del apoyo por la tarde o incluso sábados por las mañanas.
Academic tutoring outside of school hours is very important, and ELs can benefit from that. And this support perhaps can be after school or even explore Saturday mornings.
Luego tenemos el acceso a clases de apoyo académico. Recomendamos que los estudiantes tengan también acceso a clases de apoyo donde reciban ayuda con sus materias y también donde puedan reforzar las áreas donde fallaron sus exámenes de reclasificación.
Access to support classes is very important for some of the English learners. In order for them to be successful, they can benefit from academic support in all of their subjects, or even in areas where deficiencies were noted in their reclassification exams.
Punto número 4, recomendamos expectativas claras para días de clases asincrónicos.
Clear guidelines regarding asynchronous days are important for students. I think that needs to be reinforced for some of our ELs.
Y el punto número 5, tenemos acceso a clases selectivas. Clases selectivas dan la oportunidad de expandir conocimientos y enriquecimientos, y nos gustaría que se desarrolle un plan donde estas oportunidades sean posibles para los aprendices de inglés también.
We know that elective classes provide new knowledge and enrichment to students. We would like a plan where ELs can have access to a wider range of electives.
Y ya para terminar, el último punto, integración a la comunidad escolar. Nuestra comunidad es diversa y hay mucho que podemos aprender unos de otros. Al integrar la comunidad de aprendices de inglés en la comunidad escolar como un programa de compañerismo, ganan los dos grupos, porque los dos tienen algo que aportar. Nos gustaría el apoyo en desarrollar formas de integración y enriquecimiento.
This is the last point, and it's integration into school communities. We believe that we have a very diverse community and we can learn from each other. Integrating ELs into the mainstream school it could be beneficial, and it could be done perhaps through a buddy program. And we believe this is a win-win situation where both groups that participate in such a program can benefit, since both have something to give and to receive.
Bueno, eso es todo referente a las recomendaciones y continuará la señora Evelyn.
This is all for me, and Evelyn will continue with the next part.
Next slide.
Hola, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Evelyn García. Es un gusto para mí representar al comité de DILAC. Yo soy representante de la escuela de Hisdale High School. Tengo un estudiante en el 11º grado y yo les quiero hablar este día sobre las recomendaciones.
Evelyn, ¿me permites un momento, por favor?
All right. Sorry.
Good evening. My name is Evelyn Garcia. Sorry. My name is Evelyn Garcia. It's a pleasure to be here. I am the parent of an 11th grader at Hillsdale. It's a pleasure to be part of DLAC.
Este día yo les voy a hablar sobre algunas recomendaciones de apoyo a las familias.
This evening, I will share with you some recommendations related to family support services.
Como primer punto, quisiera hablarles sobre las clases solamente para familias de los aprendices de inglés y el uso de las computadoras.
I would like to speak to you about our recommendation about support or classes for parents of ELs, specifically computer literacy classes.
Hay familias que tienen conocimiento con el uso de el Gmail y navegar en las páginas web de distintas escuelas.
There are families who lack the knowledge of using email or navigating the websites of our district or schools.
Aunque hay instrucciones en español sobre Canvas y padres y tutores necesitan ser guiados.
Even though there are instructions for Canvas and Spanish, parents and guardians need additional assistance in understanding this platform.
Paso a paso, cómo navegar en una plataforma, encontrar información de las clases y tareas.
Parents need to be guided step by step so that they can access the student information, such as homework, assignments.
Los estudiantes, si fueran posible tener grupos pequeños en una clase para recibir instrucciones en vivo.
Having in-person tutorials or in-person classes and small group for parents would be of great benefit.
Ese sería nuestro primer punto y como segundo punto, clases sobre el sistema educativo y requisitos para graduarse de high school.
A second class for EL parents would be a class informing parents of the educational system here and graduation requirements.
El sistema educativo en este país es diferente y es importante para nosotros como padre.
The educational system in this country is different than that of our home countries. So it is important for us to learn that.
A que se nos informe y se sientan cómodos en hacer preguntas y aclarar sus dudas.
It is important to have these classes for EL parents to have an environment where we could ask questions and get clarification on any area that we may need further clarity on.
Como tercer punto, la continuación del programa PIQUE o un programa similar coordinado por el distrito.
We would like to see the continuation of a program like PIQUE or an equivalent program offered through the district.
Programas que además de informar sobre el sistema educativo incluyan desarrollos de liderazgos.
We're interested in these programs that, in addition to providing information on the educational system, that they provide some leadership training to parents.
Para que los padres se sientan confiados en apoyar y abogar por nuestros hijos y se involucren más en nuestras escuelas.
Having this type of programs can give parents the tools to advocate and support for their children and also become active members of the school community.
Además, pedimos el apoyo a un programa de padre ayudando a padres.
In addition, we like the support of a program of a parent helping parent, a type of a program.
Muchos de nosotros ayudamos a nuevas familias, pero pedimos más apoyo para crear un programa formal.
Many of us are already helping other parents that are new to the district, but we ask for your support to expand this and do it and have a formal parents helping parents program.
Para que ellos al inscribir a sus hijos se sientan más confortables y sentirse más apoyados.
Para sentirse más que, perdón?
Apoyados.
So a parent helping parent program would provide knowledge and give parents give them confidence to be involved.
En la próxima recomendación es sobre el proceso personal.
Next slide.
Yes.
The next recommendations are related to processes, policies, and
personal.
Personnel.
Como primer punto, más coherencia en las prácticas de calificaciones entre los profesores.
Okay. ¿Quieres expander? Y yo.
Sí, ok. Por el hecho de que los maestros tienen reglas diferentes de recuperar puntos en tareas o exámenes, crea confusión.
The first recommendation is for more coherence in the grading practices among teachers. It appears that there different policies regarding making up work. So when students have different rules about makeup work, that creates confusion.
La actualización de las calificaciones en Canvas también se manejan diferentes en algunos maestros. Actualizan el trabajo recuperando antes de el periodo de calificación.
The updates on Canvas also varies among teachers as makeup work is updated at different times. Okay.
Así que el grado en la plataforma no refleja las actualizaciones de los grados correctos.
So when Canvas is updated at different points in the semester, it does create confusion because it's not updated. It's not updated. So it creates some confusion among students and parents.
Y en el siguiente punto les hablaré sobre el proceso de los registros que deben ser más fáciles de navegar para las nuevas familias y aprendices de inglés y familias que regresan.
The next recommendation is related to enrollment for new immigrant families and those that are returning to the district.
Las familias reportan el proceso de los registros que se dificulta porque muchas veces no tienen la documentación que se pide.
Some families have expressed difficulties and with the enrollment process due to the lack of having the documents that are needed to enroll students.
Y es importante recordar que muchas de las familias que rentan sin contrato, se renta un cuarto.
It's important to be mindful that some families rent without having formal rental agreements. Many families are renting rooms, so are in house sharing situations.
Cuando este proceso se extiende, el estudiante que viene a medio de año se tarda en entrar a la escuela.
When this process is delayed, when students come mid-year, the start of school for the student is also delayed.
Entonces, este proceso debería de ser un poquito más flexible para estas familias o más fácil.
The enrollment process should be easier or there should be flexibility or be made easier for immigrant families.
Durante la pandemia, muchas familias se movieron y no actualizan su dirección con el distrito porque no tienen la documentación que se les pide o como un contrato de renta u otras cosas.
During the pandemic, many families moved and have not updated their new address with the district due to the lack of document required to do so.
Y como tercer punto y último, necesitamos más claridad en quién o cómo supervisan el personal de IE o consejeros.
We would like more transparency about the chain of command with who supervises personnel at schools. es todo. Evelyn? Hello.
Maybe she dropped. Okay, we can go to the next slide.
Okay.
Thank you all for your attention as we shared our recommendations to help equip for success our English learner student body. The families we represent have been some of the hardest hit by the pandemic, and under normal circumstances feel intimidated to voice their feedback. We encourage and would be delighted by the board's attendance in our meetings. Special thanks to Trustee Zuniga for attending our last session. We deeply appreciate the tremendous efforts made and are being made to provide our students the best education possible. We are here to help and support the district in any way we can. We now open the floor to any questions.
You're on,
Bob,
you're
you're
on
on.
mute, President Griffin.
It's probably just as well, because I was saying that every time I call on somebody, they wish to defer. So I said, who wishes to defer first? I heard Trustee Land. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll go first then. I just want to say thank you to the committee, DLAC committee. Every year they come and present amazing, really concrete examples of where our district needs to go. And I think it behooves our district staff to really implement the initiatives that they're presenting. What I really want to say thank you this time is, with all the troubles that we've had and with all the virtual learning that's taken place, they've really give concrete examples of where we need support. And I really want to appreciate and thank them for that. I think every one of their recommendations really proved to be what needs to be done and how do we do it. So I think it really, I'm supporting all of the recommendations. I'd like to see more of this being done. I just want to say thank you to all of the DLAC members and all the parents who've been working together. I didn't get to go this year, I feel bad, but good. I'm glad Leah got to go. Dr. Showman, thank you so much for working with this group and all of you working together and making this happen. So I really appreciate the recommendations, and I think we should move forward with all of the examples as best we can.
Trustee Andrade Zuniga.
Thank you. I'm going to say this in Spanish first and I'll translate in English. It won't be long. Quiero primero decirlo en español para darle un descanso a la traductora y a la señora Elsa, que es bastante para traducir. Felicidades en su presentación, que muchas gracias porque nos abre los ojos a muchas cosas que hemos dicho de nuestras familias, de personas que han recién llegado a este país, que no es igual a las cosas que tenemos aquí en este país. Así que tenemos que realizar todo y apoyar a las familias, porque no todo es igual. Muchas gracias. What I was saying was I wanted to give a break to Ms. Pulido and also the translator, because I know it's a lot to translate. But I wanted to say thank you and congratulations to this presentation, because there's a lot of things that are different when people immigrate to this country. Not every country is the same. And so I'm glad that there are some things that have been, brought to light that we need to work on as a district, but it's definitely the education and the groups and the support around those differences that, like I was saying earlier in our closed session, that are not always the same. And so we should definitely acknowledge that and meet people where they're at. So thank you.
Trustee Hanley.
Yeah, I always appreciate these DLAC presentations, and I think they've brought us some very good ideas and recommendations, and many of them we've already adopted. And I think there's some very good ones here. I think there was quite a few here this year. I think even more than in previous years as I'm going through them. I think we may have to set some priorities as to what we can move forward on. You know, I think I'm particularly interested in some of the after school hours, the academic support and tutoring for with an emphasis on ELs. I think that's particularly worth pursuing, and seeing you know, if we can make some progress there. And I think, you know, continuing to support the technology needs is another one that I think is a priority for us. I'm not so sure about support classes. You know, we've done a lot of support classes over the years, and haven't had a lot of success with support classes, quite frankly. And so I'm not sure that that's the way to go. I think providing support within our regular classes has been more effective. And so I think we need to think about that. But there's certainly some good ideas here, and I think we need to also think about, you know, that people have had to move around, and how we're doing registration. We probably need to think about some innovative ideas. We've had so many problems with fraudulent registrations over the years, that we just have to be careful with our registrations and our processes there. It's unfortunate, but it's true. And so there's a balance there that we have to maintain, unfortunately. But I think we do need to recognize that we're in a time where a lot of people have been displaced and have had to make changes, so I think to the extent that we can work with people and verify addresses and locations, we should make an effort to do that. But we also have to be cognizant that you know, we have had a tremendous problem with fraud over the years, and we have a constant vigilance about that. So, but I appreciate the work. There's obviously been a tremendous amount of thought and effort that's gone into this report, and I very much appreciate that and bringing this forward. Thanks.
Trustees Lees, Dwyer.
Okay. I also really like this report, and I look forward to getting it. Hope you can hear me. I want to thank you for your clarity and your candor, because you talked about work that's been done and work that could be done, should be done, and I think that's really important. And I really liked how straightforward the report is in advising us what's working and what other things could work better or new things to add. I really believe that these students need every opportunity we can give them, because if we don't, we're going to lose a generation, and we can't lose a generation. There's no time, especially now. These kids didn't come here to be lost. So the ideas of offering them electives, integrating them, doing everything we can is incredibly important to this district, and I think to everyone who works for this district. I guess I would like to know who will take this on to take the report, analyze it further, make the, review the findings, and actually take some steps to make some additions, make some changes, bring things together, and do what we do more than what we do in a way that will actually be meaningful to every student that comes to our door. So Mr. Skelly, who's beyond Samia, who's marshaling all this along, who's going to work on this to really take it apart
Well,
and look
so
at it?
if you saw the report, there's a lot of places that are touched here.
Yes.
This is not just, I mean, we've got, whether student attendance and registration, different departments. The good thing is we have council meeting on Monday. We'll bring this in. I know all the members of council are paying attention today and taking notes. And we typically have a night where we come back with responses to some of these recommendations. It's often sort of a progress report. What were the recommendations last year? What do we do this year? But we'll sit down and we'll get that to you in terms of what the best day to do it, whether it's this year or the fall of the next school year.
I look forward to that because I think the sooner things can be implemented, things can be looked at, assessed. Like the registration, there are ways to do it. We just have to have people put their heads together and say, here's how we can do it.
Right.
Here's a way we can try. And that's what we need to do so that people can be seen and heard and these students can participate in every class possible so that they can graduate and be proud high school graduates.
Yes.
And go on to college, and enter the AVID program, So anyway, thank you very, very much.
Trustee Land, round two, apparently.
Yes. Well, and I'm going to make a comment about that. It is good to hear my fellow board members say a few things because I like an iterative conversation where I actually can build off of the ideas of what someone else said. I just want to concur with Peter on several issues. He brought up the support classes, and I know the recommendation was to have more access to electives. Well, what happens is if you do too many support classes, you're not going to get electives. It's a trade-off. And that's why I really feel, Peter's right in the sense that we really need to look at that. So that ties to my next thing, which is what Linda said, which is who's going to do this? It's really about making this happen. And in the past, I really felt like we've taken the recommendations, done things with it, improved, made programs, made shifts, even in the commendations, they've recommended some of the things that we've done, but there's more work to do. And as Linda said, it's like, who's going to be doing it? And poor Samia can't be the only one looking out doing this the whole time. But Samia, you are going to be the one who's going to make sure we're going to go. So, but I think it's important that we just don't see this as a progress report, but we see this as an implementation for as many programs as we can as we go. Thanks.
Okay, any other comments?
Well, I'll just make one. There was a series of comments about Elsa Pulido. If you remember 3 or 4 years ago, that there was a recommendation that we have somebody at the district office to play her role. Now, we didn't know we'd get a superstar, but we did, and we're really pleased that she's here. And so that came out of the report here. So I think Ms. Zuniga has her hand up.
It's up and down. Trustees under. Trustee Andrade Zuniga.
Yes, sorry, I wanted to put it down before because I never remember to put it down. No, I wanted to say, but I just want to make sure this happens. So yeah, I will hold it accountable.
Good job.
Thank you. We really appreciate the board's attention and all the attention it always gives this report and their support in trying to make these recommendations come true.
Okay. I'll thank everybody. I'll thank the DLAC and the staff for their presentation, and we'll move on to L5, LCAP goals and metrics. I think there's an extensive presentation, some 26 pages or something. Can we perhaps condense that down in terms of the presentation?
Yeah, so I'll leave that to Mr. Simmons. He knows how to talk fast and go quickly.
Poor Brian.
Dr. Kempke's going to start us off. So yes, we will keep this brief. This is the first round of the new LCAP. So you can go to the next slide. So we are going to provide to you tonight the overview of the LCAP that will be our strategic plan for the next 3 years. And this also includes the expanded learning grant, which is another plan that Mr. Simmons and I have the great pleasure of working on in addition to the LCAP. So we're going to look at the draft principles, goals, and metrics for this LCAP, and then receive some feedback as part of the process for the development of the LCAP. So next slide. Just as a reminder, the LCAP is a 3-year plan required by the state. It's to outline our budget with specific emphasis on our historically underrepresented groups of students, as we refer to lovingly as our HUGs. Our most recent LCAP cycle was from 2017 to 2020. They actually put the LCAP on pause last year. We were supposed to write it last spring. Instead, we wrote an abbreviated version called the Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan, which was approved last fall. So what we're going to present to you tonight are a draft priorities, goals, and metrics for the new LCAP. Next slide. So the local control and accountability plan is what the LCAP is, and it will articulate these strategic goals and actions. And we've used for the development of this one our district equity vision and mission to guide the development. The expanded learning opportunities grant plan is how we will use monies that we're receiving to expand learning and support learning recovery after the pandemic. So we'll be bringing that one to you. We're going to use, you can go to the next slide. We're going to use some of the same timelines and processes that are required of the LCAP and the expanded learning plan. We're combining them just because both of them do require engagement of stakeholders. We are using our district equity committee to do a lot of the development and input on the plan, include some of the members that you just saw spoke. So we have some DLAC members on that team. We need to establish outcomes, goals, and metrics for both of them. And then we'll articulate this to our strategic initiatives. And then we need to show how we'll use the funding and then align that and show that that is how we in fact use the funding. Next slide. So here's our timeline. The template was just released, so it is a more condensed timeline that we would have liked to see, but we did get our first feedback from the Equity Advisory Committee in March. We've met with the county around it. We're going to continue to get feedback from internal stakeholders. Tonight, we're here to get some feedback from you all around our draft goals and metrics. We will go to DLAC, so the members that just spoke to us will go to them with the plan and hopefully align some of the recommendations you just heard from them into the actual LCAP so that we can align funding to them as well. We'll share it with our associations and then bring it back to our Equity Advisory Committee to kind of take a first and last approval of it, and then we'll bring it to you in June. That's the LCAP. The Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant will come to you in May. Next slide. The structure of our draft plan is that we've identified 4 priorities or principles that really outline our desired outcomes, just to give us some vision of where we're trying to go. And then we have goals on how we will get to those outcomes, and then metrics on how we'll measure progress towards those outcomes. Next slide. As a reminder, this is our guiding statement around how we do this work. And I believe now I'm turning it over to Mr. Simmons to take it away.
Next slide, please. Good evening, everyone. We've organized our new LCAP draft goals and metrics in relation to these 4 overarching principles, and I'm going to go into each of them now in detail. Next slide, please. Sorry. So the first of our overarching principles is authentic relationships, as you can see there. Using data and input from the Equity Advisory as well as the Panorama Student Survey conducted earlier this year, we know that deep and authentic relationships are at the heart of student success. So we have a principle related to this idea, and we will now move on to the specific goals and metrics that we'll use to measure our progress in this regard. Next slide, please. As you can see in this slide, we have a goal related to increasing staff diversity, ensuring that all students have at least one strong adult relationship, And finally, that there's a goal related to ensuring that our families have multiple opportunities for engagement and are receiving effective communication from us. In some ways, very much in line with what we just heard. In line with these goals, there's some specific three aligned metrics that we propose to track. That is to continue to increase the diversity of staff so that our relationships have some affinity with for some of our students. Increases in favorable student self-reporting about teacher-student relationships on our annual student survey administered by this organization called Panorama. And then increases in favorable parent self-reporting about opportunities for engagement as well as effectiveness of our communication. Next slide, please. The next principle is around the inclusiveness and cultural responsiveness of our school communities. Next slide, please. As you can see, the goals and metrics related to this principle see us identifying a research-based framework for family engagement so that all families are able to effectively engage in supporting their students and schools in whatever way they best can. In addition, there are goals related to increasing student leadership and ensuring that we have classrooms and school communities where students are upstanders. And in addition, we will continue to support the whole child, their physical, psychological, and social emotional well-being, and have a goal related to that. The metrics associated with these goals are outlined on this slide, and some are continued from our previous LCAP as relates to suspension and expulsion rates. Those are also actually required, as well as student perception and experience of hate speech on our campuses based on our Panorama survey. And obviously that is coming from the grand jury report and a need to really pay attention to that in particular, but also because of our own concerns about that in general. Finally, we have added a new metric related to ensuring student participation in more activities across the sites. Next slide. Third principle is focused on the core of our program, ensuring that students have rigorous, relevant, and engaging learning every day. And when our first attempts at supporting students in our mainstream classrooms are not effective, we have a strong and coordinated set of supports for intervention, much like what Mr. Hanley said earlier. I will now move to the next slide and review the associated goals and metrics. Next slide, please. In this area, we have three goals related to ensuring that our students engage in and truly learn from effective and culturally responsive learning experiences. The first goal is squarely focused on this idea. The second goal is then intended to capture our goal related to building on a robust system of support for our students. And then finally, the third goal really is then our aspiration to ensure that all students have access to rigorous coursework that helps them achieve their post-secondary goals. The metrics under this area are indicated here, and this is where we have situated the majority of our academic outcomes goals. Please note that there are specific academic outcomes we look to achieve related to English learners, in some ways in deference to what you just heard, and in the previous presentation, and their progress in acquiring an academic English language, as well as the credits in a rigorous but realistic manner, given their tenure in the district. Next slide, please. Our fourth and final principle is related to the continuous improvement of our staff. I'll review the goals and outcomes next. Next slide, please. As you can see in this area, we have goals related to some key best practices that we look to ensure that all staff know and are able to deliver on. In addition, we have a goal related to ensuring the continuous improvement of the instructional coaching program, as well as ensure that our faculty of color feel supported by our organization. The specific metrics related to this area are outlined here, but I will pull out in relief the idea that we will use data about implementation, both teacher survey and self-reports, but also observational data to validate and show improvement of the practices on which teachers and staff are trained. In addition, we will use the Panorama Teacher Survey to give us a sense of the effectiveness of our teacher of color support regime. While we are putting much effort into recruiting teachers of color to the district, we also want to ensure that we retain them, and this metric will help us in knowing if we are on the right track with our support initiatives. I'll now move to the final slide, which summarizes the changes these goals and metrics represent in relation to our previous plan. So obviously we have created priority areas. That one big difference is that we've created these priority areas to align the work across our district. We've also updated the goals to reflect our new priorities, our renewed commitment to anti-racism, implementation of a multi-tiered system of support, and the development of some local common assessment measures. In addition, we have metrics that are aligned to these new priorities. While we will hear your feedback about the goals and metrics tonight, we will also continue to work sort of, simultaneously on codifying the strategies and activities related to actually achieving these outcomes. And it should be noted that we will include the recommendations of the DLAC that were just presented. We now welcome your questions and feedback.
Thank you. So I can't tell whose hand came up first. So Trustee Andrade Zuniga.
Go ahead, Trustee Land. He was first.
I couldn't tell.
I
okay,
couldn't
it's
tell
okay.
either.
No, it's fine. Go ahead. Go ahead. It's fine.
Okay. Both Julia and Brian, outstanding work. I'm really impressed by the goals and how we're, this kind of excites me. Usually I'm very bored at LCAP presentations, I'm sorry. But what I am gonna say is you've really captured a lot of the elements that really need to be done. I love the connectedness. I love the first two goals immensely. I like how you're trying to figure out how to use metrics to achieve the goals that you put set forth. It's ambitious, but this is what we've been looking for. And I really want to compliment you both and all your team and everybody who's looked at this, because I think this puts in perspective where we need to go and how it ties to the past. So I do like that bridge to the past because I think it's important. So I'm glad, Brian, you brought that up. But I really want to compliment you on where we're going, and I'm excited about this. And so that's that really is impressing me a lot. Thank you.
Trustee Andrade Zuniga.
No, it's my turn. Yeah, thank you for this presentation. It's very thorough. I really appreciate it. And I just want to reiterate, though, how important this is. Representation matters 100%. And I'm glad that you all have encompassed that. And we hear it everywhere. In the presentation, we heard, last night at the Unity in the Community, people say they want representation for their students, teachers and administrators, as well as tonight with the ELAC presentation. The one thing, though, please, whoever's presenting, slow down, because we have an interpreter, and I do a lot of translation, and it's very difficult. So please, but great presentation. I just really want to make sure it happens, though. And so who and what is more important to me than the presentation itself. So we can have a conversation offline, but just keep that in mind, who and how. Thank you.
Trustee Hanley.
Yes, I think it's a really good good start on the LCAP and a very good presentation. I think we just need to remember that we're surrounding the academics, the engaging, rigorous, relevant learning for every student with things that are supporting that. And while they're all very important things, we're doing those things so that the learning improves. All of those other things are efforts so that the students become better students, and the academic outcomes are at a higher level. And sometimes I think that gets lost in the focus just being on the other things for themselves, isolated as efforts separate from the learning. And I don't want that to happen. They're not separate from the learning. They're part and parcel of making the students more comfortable, more attached, more engaged with their learning. So, that's, as long as we have this as the third part, and we're viewing this as being surrounded and encompassed by all of these other things supporting the learning, then I'm fine with the learning being number 3 in the LCAP. But I don't want it to be number 3 in the sense that it's number 3, because it's actually number 1. It's actually the whole reason that we do an LCAP, the whole reason that we exist. And so I want to make sure that's why That's why we're here. And for some of the things, you know, I'd be more aggressive in that section. For instance, on number 4 in the metrics, course access measure for all students with a question mark. You know, CAP, for instance, has the requirement that, or the expectation that all of their students take an IB course. Well, why don't we have an expectation that every student takes either an IB course or an AP course for measuring that? You know, I think that's kind of a minimal requirement. If we're going to be raising by 2024, that doesn't seem to be, you know, we ought to be expecting them to take 2 AP courses. If we're doing all of this other support for them, why not? And if we're at 62% of preparation for college and career, where do we want to be? Well, we ought to be a heck of a lot higher than 62.9% coming out of 2024. We ought to be 75% at least. You know, we ought to be aiming high. And I don't think accessing a 7-period day is much of a measurement, because a 7-period day, most seniors are not going to take a 7-period day, I don't think. So I don't think that's much of a measurement. I think we need to be looking at things that are really going to impact those college and career indicators, and really impact things like A to G and college courses. You know, if you go through those, I think there's 8 measurements of college and career indicators. And we ought to be thinking about, well, if the state says all you have to do is meet one of them, shouldn't we be thinking about maybe our goal should be, you ought to meet 2 or 3 of them is our goal. You ought to meet 2 or 3 of these college career indicators is our goal. Because meeting one of them is just kind of a minimum. It seems to me we ought to be trying to get our students really prepared and to be going off and being successful, because what the pandemic has really showed us is the 2 levels of society, and the other level is really getting killed out there right now. If you don't have the skills, you don't have the ability to function at a reasonably high skill level. That doesn't mean you have to have a college degree, but you ought to be able to read well, function at a reasonable capacity with math and science. You're not going to succeed very well in this society, and it's not going to get easier over the next decade. So we've got to up our game and up our expectations, or we're not doing well by our students. And I think we need to think a different way about the other thing the pandemic has showed is that some students have flourished in this flexible environment and with the ability to sprint ahead, take college classes, enjoy the flexibility of distance learning. And maybe we should think about, can we establish a 3-year high school graduation program over the next year or 2? Can we start thinking about, can we make it possible for students to graduate in 3 years or 3.5 years? What that does is it potentially frees up resources on this end that that we can apply to the students that are struggling on this end. I just think we don't want to go back to what we had in February of 2020, because what we had in February of 2020 wasn't all that good, quite frankly. It left a lot of students behind. And we have a chance now to do something different, and we should do something different.
Trustees Lees Dwyer.
Okay, I was standing up, so when I stand up, my camera doesn't really get me. So that's why you saw my little picture. So now I'm sitting down and I'm recovering from listening to Peter. Okay. I like the goals. I'll tell you, I think that authentic relationships are hugely important, particularly at high school level, particularly with kids coming to this country, particularly with kids who just weren't connected or became disconnected in junior high, where all kinds of things happen in junior high. And they come to high school, it's a new environment, new kids, new place. And who am I and how am I going to fit in? And I think that the authentic relationship, the safe and connected communities are vital in order to give them a platform on which they can succeed. Because when you come as a freshman, you're starting over, you're new. And when they feel connected, they feel safe, they see people who look like them, they realize I can make it, I can do it. And I think so much of learning involves the willingness, the wanting to learn, the wanting to be part of something, the wanting to succeed. And a lot of what number one and number two do is help implant that seed with kids who didn't have that opportunity. We get a lot of really motivated kids who are well ahead, but and they're going to achieve. And we have many programs in them, and they would probably fit into Peter's 3.5-year plan. But we also get a lot of students who this is brand new. So I like these. I feel like the education goals, the 62.9% prepared for college it's like, whoa, I do want that number to be higher. But I think how we do it and how we get there is very, very important. So, and I could say from having 5 children, 3 exchange students, and a foster child, that one size does definitely not fit all. And you'll have a kid, Peter, who no matter what you do, they're going to struggle. And you've got to work with that. And you've got to find a way to fit that. And that's the challenge that parents face and that teachers face and principals face. How do we meet the needs of that kid? And I think this plan is working very much in that direction. So I appreciate it. I'd love to do we get quarterly reports, Brian? Because I think that's something that would be good to have if we're not. That's my question.
we do try to update you on the different goals. We'll have a different, now we will have quarterly because we've got 4 areas. So
yeah, so okay, I like that because I do want, I appreciate getting all the input you're going to get and all the work you're going to do to make this work. But I see this as a really, really good beginning coming out of a pandemic. And I think it's going to meet the needs of many students who needs right now are kind of edgy. So thank you.
Trustee Land.
So again, I really want to appreciate what Peter and both Linda had to say. So I'm going to just add a little bit. So I think, what Peter was talking about was, yes, the learning is important. And yes, I'm glad it's relevant and rigorous and connected. But the first 2 are critical to get to that third one. And I think for the first time, because of the pandemic, because of what we've gone through, because we saw the disparate 2 groups where one group succeeds because they're flourishing and they can do the online and they like that flexibility. I totally agree with Peter. But in the other case, we have a lot of kids struggling and we see that, and it's an equity issue and we really have to address it. And I think with those first 2 goals as being priorities, that's what's going to make a difference. And, I had to do a presentation to our legislatures recently, and they took up a little phrase an educational ease that I think really is relevant here. You have to Maslow before you can bloom. And so, all of a sudden now it's going to be on the Senate floor all talking about it because they finally figured out what I was talking about, because the hierarchy of needs we're talking about that. That's what the first two goals are, is really trying to connect with our students in that very basic way, in a very connected way, to meet their very basic needs. And that's what we need to start with. Because then once you have that, then they can bloom, then they can do the critical thinking, then they can expand their education, and the gap can close. So I really feel like you captured it in this LCAP, and I want to compliment you again on it, because I think it's the right thing to do. I will agree also with what Peter said. Maybe the metrics might be a little soft, and maybe that's something that in the academic area that you might want to look at. Because I think long-term goals, we do want to have higher goals, and we've kind of talked about that before in previous LCAPs. And so it's something that we should consider. Anyway, thank you.
Trustee Andrade Zuniga.
I have one last thing to say. So, no, I hear what you're saying, Trustee Land and Trustee Dwyer, and Trustee Henley. The thing is that we have to remember that success and being really prepared means different things for different people. Some of the things, like with distance learning, also meant helping to feed your family, because some of our families need our students to also help work so they can, feed their family. So keeping all that in mind, remember, being prepared and success is different for different people, especially people that are not thinking about a four-year university. Like, it's not, again, right, everything is different. So now with distance learning and with all of the things we've learned, sometimes it's okay to, to work remote and all that. So I just really want to make sure that we define these terms for different communities in different ways. So thank you.
Okay, any other comments? I think you were looking for feedback. You got plenty of feedback there. And there were a lot of ties on, we're going to move on from this item. There's nothing for section M. We're going to move on to N1, approval of personnel actions.
Yes, we have the personnel actions and addendum. We have a recognition. Toshio Hirano, our instructional assistant at the adult school, is retiring at the end of the day, June 30th, after being in the district for 18 years and 4 months.
I move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Can I just ask a question?
Please.
No.
There's one on this facilities manager, this Don, I'll probably mispronounce his name, Donna Huna.
Yes.
That there's a retroactive to 2017.
Yes.
What happened on that?
It was an oversight. He has satisfied the longevity in the district, which is 10 years in the district in a leadership position, 15 years in education. It was an oversight that was caught by a generalist, a human resource generalist, and it should have occurred back in 2017.
Okay. Don't we have something in the computer that just flags these things automatically, or?
For the longevity, that's negotiated with the unit. So it's not, it's not for everyone.
Okay. I mean, that's a long time to miss it.
Yeah.
At least they found it. I mean, you think it's a long time if they hadn't found it. So trustees Lees, Dwyer, did you make the motion?
Yes.
Who made the second? Trustee Land. Okay, Trustee Andrade Zuniga, how do you vote?
Yes.
Trustee Land?
Yes.
Trustee Lees, Dwyer?
Yes.
Trustee Hanley?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes, and the motion passes 5-0. There is no N2. We'll move on to N3, presentation and public hearing regarding the San Mateo Union High School District's initial contract proposal to the District Teachers Association.
Yes.
Do you have any comments?
Sure. This is our contract proposal with the Teachers Association for 21-23. We're looking forward to collaborating with the Teachers Association on these various approaches with the intent to provide students and staff with expanded opportunities. We hope to bring some of what we learned going through the pandemic and make sure we incorporate some of the creative and accommodating strategies that we have developed during this time. I can briefly touch on some of the items if you like.
I don't know that if that's necessary. It also calls for a public hearing, correct?
Yeah. Yes,
okay.
please.
Last week we were presented with the teacher's proposal, and we held a public hearing. I will hold a public hearing now and entertain comments with regard to our proposal. Is there any public, Ms. Chalkley, who wishes to speak?
There are no requests to speak.
Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing on this item. Okay, and we'll move on. Division of Instructional Services 01, Anti-Racist Professional Learning Services.
So this item is after a pretty lengthy process of creating a request for proposals that was vetted through a great team of a cross-section of folks from across the district to kind of say, yes, this is a kind of professional learning we'd like to see. We released the RFP and received proposals back. That same team came back together, reviewed all of the proposals, identified a finalist. We interviewed those finalists and are happy to report that we're recommending Shane Saphir and Joe Truss as our providers. So this is meeting our goals from the grand jury report to ensure that we're training all staff on how to disrupt hate-related speech on campus. And also just it's aligned to our LCAP goals as well. So what's before you tonight is a smaller kind of the spring scope of work, but you'll see there that there's a scope of work that will be, going into next year that's going to be a larger one. So we've already started planning with them and really looking forward to it. Just as to note, Shane Saphir is a pretty well-known author. She wrote The Listening Leader. She has a new book out called Street Data. And Joe Truss has been doing some really good work around disrupting white supremacy and has trained educators from around the district. So happy with our choice here. And it was pretty unanimous. So as they went through the process, their proposal came out on top on each one of those rounds. So that
trustees, sorry, go ahead. Trustees Lees, Dwyer.
Oops, did I move? Okay, $190,000. So are we approving a contract for $190,000 worth of services tonight?
You're approving one for $40,000 tonight, anticipating that we'll come back to you with the full scope of services after we do kind of the spring, spring work.
There's no contract on this agenda itself. There's no contract that shows what we're getting, how many hours they're working. There's none of that. So where is that?
It's part of the proposal of work is you'll see in there. There's, I mean, if you want me to have them put specific hours and days into it.
Well, isn't that what we would want? I mean, it's not really a contract. There's no insurance. There's no contract language. There's nothing in here. And then we're going to be on the hook for 190. And I'm not saying that the work won't be good. Are they an LLC or are they employed together by an organization? Who are we hiring?
We're hiring them as a group. I mean, usually when we do proposals for services, it's laid out like this. If we want more details on the timing of it, we could work with them to put it in as well.
I mean, I would like to know what we're getting for $190,000 because that term is on there, but there's no breakdown of what they're going to do, when they're going to do it, who they are, what their organizational structure is, what their insurance is, all the normal things you see with a contract of that. I mean, particularly for $190,000. I'm not saying it isn't important work, but I think we should have more information, not just, this looks like a plan, but there's no contract that tells us what we're going to get for this.
Okay, I can work with Yancey maybe to find if we have a contract template that we can use with them. And
do they not have a contract? Are they not an organization?
No, they're an organization. I'll just say usually
Okay.
when we have services proposals and contracts with service groups like this, it looks a little bit more nebulous like this, and we track the hours with them. But I hear what you're saying, Linda. We can bring it back on consent, and hopefully then it will look closer to what you want to see with
I
hours.
think that everything we do with everyone should be a contract on outside vendors. There should be contracts signed with terms, because if they just don't show up, what are you going to do? Say, oh, well, I guess that wasn't in the scope. Things happen, and I think we need to make sure that we're protected and that we're going to get the services that we want. And the services sound fine, but they're not well defined, actually.
Well,
And
this,
I just read this tonight. I did not see this when I reviewed it the first time. So my apologies for not getting with you earlier, because I would have if I caught that 190 and went, woo, so.
this isn't committing us to 190, right?
No. And I will say usually when we work with organizations like this, they invoice us after they provide the service. So if they invoice us and they haven't provided the service, we don't pay them. So it's not a situation where we pay the amount and then are like, oh, whoops, we paid the amount and they're not giving us any services. So I would expect to see the hours and we work that piece out. But
So where did the $190,000 come from then?
So that was, sorry, that was from the full proposal. So with our request for what we want to see from their work, we're anticipating that the work next year will be closer to that amount.
Okay, so we don't have the full proposal then. We just have this.
What I asked from them is a scope of work for just the spring, because I don't want to commit us to a full 190 until we've done some of the initial work to vet the work that they do with us. So.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to see more. I really would, because I feel like, I see what they're planning to do. Anticipate training as many as possible throughout the year. I'm not sure exactly. Okay, they're going to review some criteria. This is what they're going to do. But that's not just for spring. That's for the whole thing. Right? Number 9, expected services and outcomes. That looks like the whole thing.
Put your. So if you look at the scope of work, phase 1 and then phase 2.
I'm looking at number 9 because that's expected services and outcomes. And so that's their proposal.
Are you looking at for our RFP?
I'm looking at what was attached here. Request for proposals, January 2021, district-wide training. And then you go down to number 9, and it gives you a list of all these things that they plan on doing. And some of which maybe have done already, the winter 2021.
The attachment you're looking at is the RFP. That is what we provided to the community to receive back the proposal. So the scope of work
is the second one.
Is
they're doing.
Proposal.
Okay.
Yes. So what we asked of the proposals from the providers is that first attachment. That was what we had sent out and received.
And this is what they're going to do.
This is what, so their phase 1, you'll see what it encompasses.
Yeah, I see what it encompasses. And this is $40,000.
Yes, that's correct.
But there's no breakdown by what it's going to be. Yeah, I think a real contract with contract language. I see what you're doing. I really didn't get it, but I do. Again, I'm looking at this total project budget for the year 190. And these are line items are rough estimates, will be adapted. Yeah, I think for even for 40, we should have a hard contract with them so that they perform. And then if you don't like what you're getting, then you have the option of not continuing, obviously, right? You're going to contract it in stages. Is that the plan?
Trustee Lees Dwyer, that is correct. Tonight, I believe, and Julia can correct me, they were going to approve moving forward with this group. We can bring the first contract back on consent on the 5th with our standard contract with the details that you're talking about right now. And then we would bring another contract for the 2021-2022 year.
That makes sense.
Closer. Okay.
That makes, yeah, absolutely sense. I have no issues with what they're going to do. It's just, I feel like it's too loosey-goosey the way it's.
No, I understand, but I think what they wanted tonight, and again, Dr.
To get going.
Can correct me, is say, yes, we like this group, we like them, we'd like you to move forward, and then we'll bring you back the contract on the 6th to approve and move forward, and then again in 21-22.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm
So
sorry. I took a
that's
long
what I
time,
thought.
but
Sorry, that's Yancy. Thank you for clarifying, because that's exactly what I was thinking.
Okay.
We're just talking in general, and then you'll give us specifics to approve.
but we should have a contract for this specific work that's going to be done now.
We're just
Correct.
approving this vendor.
Yeah.
We're approving like the request for proposal. This is the one we're saying yes to to what they're picking, who they're
Right.
picking.
Yes, and they'll do the
We don't have
contract.
any
Okay.
obligation to pay them at this point. We're just saying we want to go with this vendor. So thank you, Yancy.
Okay, I agree. I agree with that. I think
I
that's
make a
fine.
motion to approve
Okay, well,
I second.
What are you
Okay.
approving?
the vendor, to go with the vendor.
Oh,
what-
okay.
what
With
the,
the contract terms to be worked out.
what it says is approve the scope of work. So we're being asked to approve a scope of work that will be incorporated into a contract and brought back through consent agenda.
I get that.
I agree with that.
Okay,
Okay.
Trustee Andrade Zuniga, you had your hand up at one point.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's what I wanted to, thank you, Greg. I mean, Greg clarified it, but I'll second.
Okay.
Okay, who made the motion?
Greg,
Trustee Land made the motion. Trustee Andrade Zuniga made the second. Trustee Andrade Zuniga, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Trustee Land,
Yes.
Trustee Lees Dwyer,
Yes.
Trustee Hanley.
Yes.
Okay, and I'll vote yes. And when everybody's,
190,000 just gave me sort of a, a jolt here at 9:51 p.m.
okay, well,
Sorry, Julia.
when everybody talks, it's hard for me to understand who makes the motion and who makes the second. So we keep that in mind moving forward. Looks like we're through 01, nothing in student services, nothing in business services, board operations, specific board policies under R1.
I have something, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, sorry.
I just have a request under board operations. I'd like for there to be captioning at our meetings, just general captioning all the
We're
time.
on R1, the board policies.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wait till board, what is it with?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. But
Okay, we'll get there very quickly. Did anybody have any comments on these board policies? Are they all legal? Are they all legal compliance issues?
Yeah, all legislative updates.
Mhm.
Peter.
Anybody have a problem? Peter, are you saying
I
something?
just wanted to ask a couple questions on them. Do we anticipate that we're going to have to make any transfer of funds under this new law? This new board policy 3110, where are we anticipating having to use that?
Yancy, are you prepared to answer that?
Yeah, I just need to pull it up real quick.
Okay.
It's the 85% transfer, temporary transfer.
No, we haven't typically had any real cash flows issues around that. So I wouldn't expect that we would use that. Obviously, as you know, we approve a TRAN every year.
Right.
Helps us with our cash flow, sometime end of October, November into till we get our first major property tax in mid-December. But no, this is more our county, and I believe, and someone else can correct me if I'm, Dr. Skelly can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe at least in the last 13, 14 years after the Lehman Brothers issues, the county has not issued TANs, a tax anticipation note, to school districts. It's one of the reasons that we use the tax and revenue anticipation note. So this 75 to 85% doesn't really impact us.
Okay. My second question was, I read through the design build contracts which we use. I didn't see anything in there that really had any major effect on us. There's that skilled and trained workforce requirement, but
Yeah.
I'm not thinking that has any major effect on us, does it?
No, we have our labor agreement, and so we've fulfilled that. But I've checked in with legal counsel and with our construction management group, Greystone West and Stradling, on this, just to confirm that we were already following this prior to us adopting this, and they've confirmed that in our procedures, Sean Absher at Stradling and Todd Lee over at Greystone West, that these we've already been following these regulations.
Yeah. And on the student activity funds, are we in compliance with, as far as I could tell, I think we're in compliance with all of those things.
Yeah, we've brought our student activities funds in-house here to the finance department, so they're treated with a higher level of scrutiny than almost any district that I've seen. They're not really out at the sites. So yeah, they have a significant. They also sit on our general ledger now, which they used to a long time ago not sit on our general ledger. So yeah, we've fulfilled those. My predecessor was absolutely on top of that one.
Yeah, I think several years ago, our auditor dinged us on something having to do with those funds, and we corrected it. But
yeah, no, that is Trustee Hanley, that's a very common issue, but I expect it to be less common now that we've basically, we treat those ASB expenditures the same way that, we treat general fund expenditures. So.
Okay. Okay. Those were my only questions on those when I read through them.
Okay. So then these items, these board policies will be moved to a consent agenda for the next meeting.
I had a question, sorry.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Hand kept going up and down, sorry. Lease back. There seems to be keep adjusting back and forth and switches. What's the new updated version, or what's the change now is what I'm curious about, because it used to be bad, now it's good, now it's okay. I don't.
Yeah, the changes around that the legislature actually took action to codify what districts like San Mateo had already been doing and following an exact process. Prior to the Fresno case, maybe 7-8 years ago, there weren't a lot of rules around lease back. It was a small ed code that actually mostly was around financing of facilities, but it was used as an alternative, and there was not a lot of clarity on there wasn't a lot of requirements. But most districts treated it well, and of course, some entities did not. So when the Fresno case, when the district lost the Fresno case, moving forward, it was in limbo for a couple of years, and as you noted, quote, bad. The legislature codified the requirements of lease-leasebacks. So now there's the same kind of regulation as there is in the simple design bid build. I mean, they're different, obviously, but there's the same, requirements to go through. And so these are just, these updates are just codifying those updates from legislative action.
Any other questions? Okay, these policies will be moved to consent for the next meeting. Requested board items. Boy, that was quick. Trustees Lees, Dwyer, your hand shot up.
I think trustee Zuniga is first. And then I would be after her.
Her hand is not up.
But she asked
It was
earlier.
up.
Well, it was up for the prior item.
No, because you deferred her to this item.
Yes.
Well, yeah, she was on a different item.
Well, I'm
But
giving her
Trustee
the floor
Zuniga,
in my
Trustee Zuniga, please, so we can put this.
There, my hand's up. Okay. Well, I wanted to say I would like for there to be captioning at all of our meetings, regardless if there needs to be at all. It should just be like a standard procedure for accessibility.
Does Zoom do that?
Yeah. And
Oh,
there's
good.
another, if we can't do it through the Zoom, there's another software called Otter that's not very expensive and not very complicated.
We'll need a contract.
Ms. Chalkley and I have been working on this, and we'll have a report in the next either this Friday or next Friday on this topic.
Okay, Trustees Lees, Dwyer.
I just want to reiterate that I would like a report on all of the money that we have spent due to COVID, which I know, Yancy, is a lot of money in a lot of different ways by deploying people here and there and all of the things that we can code under CARES, and then to see how much of it was not covered by the CARES Act, because I think the public would really benefit from knowing the yeoman's effort the district has made to do everything possible to protect students, to open schools, to engage students, all the computers and all of that. So, and all the people, all the change jobs and all of it. So it's not like, it would be something that I think would be very valuable.
Trustee Lees Dwyer, I was thinking of including something in our May 13th budget study session that explained, because we have the CARES Act funds, and then we also have the ESSER 2 and AB 86 funds that Dr. Kemke will be going over later in the evening for those 2021, 2022 funding that's moving forward. So
I think that's perfect.
Okay.
That is absolutely perfect, because it ties right in with all the other finance issues. Perfect. Thank you.
Trustee Land.
Just a reminder that we never finished the closed session, that we need to continue that.
Yeah, the next meeting, we're gonna continue on. My comment is, what happened to all the items that were used to be on this list? Did we miraculously make them go away?
We think so, but we'll check.
Yeah, you guys think so. I'm not sure all of the board members think so, but that's okay.
Yeah, the one we do know that's not on the list is about special ed, but we know we've got that calendared, I think for May 6th or 20th. So.
Trustees Lees, Dwyer, you're about ready to have the last word.
I hope not. The one thing that was on there was the Wall of Fame that we were working on. And then the other thing that needs to go on there is, see that logo that we're all looking at? Okay.
That we've been waiting for forever.
Okay, think of this. All we have to do is update the insides. We keep our look, everyone knows who we are, but we update the insides and we can move on. So I think that we can keep that very simple and get it done, but it probably should be on the list. But all we have to do is update the interior. Yeah, because it's on all of our bus, you know, it's on the trucks, the this, the that. And it's familiar, people know it. So that's mine. 100
Okay,
cents
any
worth.
other comments? Because I think we're done.
Thank
Please.
you. Thank you very much. We'll see you in 3 weeks. Very productive meeting.